S-D-P-P. The Steve Dangle Podcast. With your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
All right, so I just have one question. Based on what we saw yesterday
It's going to be a short show then.
One. It's just, this guy.
Sorry.
I have a question, guys. Do the Dallas Stars know they're done yet?
Yo. No, they don't.
Do they know? They don't know.
No, they don't know yet.
We know, but they don't know.
They don't know. Carolina knows.
Carolina knows for sure. For they know.
Is it worse
you
to
can see
know?
it in their eyes. They're dead inside.
Is it worse to know or not to know?
I think it's worse to know.
Yeah.
Because then you know, because the execution's coming. Like, if Florida doesn't win tonight, I will literally be gobsmacked. Like, there's not been a single moment where Carolina's had the series. Whereas I look at Dallas, I'm like, they've won a couple periods at least.
Florida's a bunch of times in recent memory had a chance to win a series and not done it.
Yeah, but remember, Aho took out Reinhart, and they're pissed.
And they're pissed. They are pissed. They're so pissed. Dallas could conceivably, win a few more periods, like you said, win a few more games. They might even steal this thing. They might. They're only down 2-1 in the series. It's not that big a deal. Carolina's toast. They're so toast.
They're toast. Jesse, do you think Dallas is done?
No,
I think they're done.
I think that's a 6 or 7 game series. Like I think Dallas is going to win at least another game in this series.
Hintz being out changes things a lot. I saw a stat yesterday that shocked me. Wyatt Johnston has the worst plus minus in these playoffs.
That is
minus
surprising.
16.
Yeah.
That's such a good player. What the hell happened?
It's just bad. I mean, at a certain point, it might be down to your play. Like when plus minus gets goofy, you do have to have a conversation.
Well, yeah, like it is plus minus, but also and like he's been playing with Jamie Benn.
There's guys on some of the eliminated teams. If they had kept playing, they'd pass that by a mile.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like you only get to minus 16 because you're in the third round.
Yes.
Right.
It's a tricky one. It's a great combination of bad and good.
Yeah.
Like you had to do enough good things that you're here, but yeah, you're minus 16.
Most points through 3 games of a conference final in the last 30 postseasons.
Got it.
So I'll work for 5.
One more time.
Most points in the first 3 games of a conference final, last 30 postseasons. So last 30 years. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm gonna work my way from 5 to 1. And there's 3 people tied at number 5. Sorry, 3 people tied at number 5. So Braden Point, 2020 Lightning, Nikita Kucherov, 2020 Lightning, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 2025 Oilers.
Okay.
Hey,
They all have 7 points in 3 games.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is 7 points through 3
This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Jeff Carter, 2014 Kings, 8 points. Remember, when Jeff Carter became a King, it was like, oh, wow, they can score. I guess they're going to win the cup, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right.
And then Geno Malkin has the most, 9 points through 3 games of a conference final, 2009 Penguins. So Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is reminding the world that, hey, I was a number 1 overall pick too.
Dude. And like he doesn't even. The Oilers are doing this so by committee. It's frightening. Like they have. It's fascinating to me that we could be setting the stage. Dallas isn't done. Carolina, I'm not going to say the same thing. Dallas isn't done, but we could have the stage set for a really unique Stanley Cup final rematch because I don't think either of these teams look the same at all.
They're different.
They're different. I mean, the Panthers have friggin' Marchand.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a big change. There were big changes to their D-core. And the Oilers, like McDavid, his first goal last night, I was like, damn, that's McDavid, man. That's what he does. And then the thing comes up on the screen, McDavid, 4. I'm like, that was his 4th goal of the, and then he got number 5. Hyman got 2. He only got to number 5. Like, it's not like everyone's just their top guys are completely blowing the doors off. This is a by committee effort. Draisaitl's line mates are Podkolzin and Kapanen. Those guys are
They're
like,
cast off.
Heading into this season, they were replacement level NHL players.
Yeah,
like
they're first round, what a lot of people would consider busts.
Busts who are like probably on their last chance to play in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Kapanen definitely.
Kapanen for sure.
And like Podkolzin is maybe a little younger, so maybe not.
Yep.
And they look dynamite. They look great. You go all the way down the lineup. They're playing really disciplined, structured hockey. Like, I don't recognize Evan Bouchard from like, I'm starting to understand why Oilers fans were like, well, you only saw the clips. Well, yeah, the clips were dog shit. That's why I was so gobsmacked by what I saw. But the Oilers are just playing really frustrating, lock them down. Like, forget Bouchard. The right side is Bouchard, Stetcher, Klingberg. That is a Final Four.
And Klingberg scored.
D-core. Yes! Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still mad about people saying he's obviously cooked.
No, they're wrong.
I'm still mad about that. Like, because
he's a defenseman in the
NFL.
NFL.
Look at him. He's ass. Yeah, no, he's broken. His body it hurts. It hurts to like live. It hurts to play hockey. It hurts to get out of bed in the morning. It probably hurts to sit down. His hips are fucked. You know what ended his Leafs career?
His hips.
Was it a bad hit? Was it a did he fall into it was a plane ride. He played a good game against the Canucks. We saw it. They boarded a plane to Sweden. That's it. He never played again. Never, not once. A plane ride ended his career in Toronto, but you fixed him up a little bit.
And then he betrayed us by not re-signing here.
Well,
at least wanted to.
Well,
and then he betrayed us.
Well,
we fixed him, and then he went to Edmonton.
Well, he didn't want the pressure of Toronto, so he signed in the tiny hamlet of Edmonton,
where they don't really care,
where they don't care about hockey. They don't stand out in a big square by the thousands. Standing room by the thousands
with Edmonton weather.
Building
with Edmonton weather.
Edmonton
Very
weather. Paint their faces, giant chains, and dude, there were like 6 Stars fans in that entire building. Like they packed the place. No, I'm so impressed by what I've seen from the Oilers, and like I really don't even think the Stars have played poorly. I think they're playing great.
It's just really good.
I don't think they're playing Rantanen enough. I know there's a thought out there that he's not playing well enough. I don't know. If you have Mikko Rantanen and you're missing like one of your biggest players, like play him till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Double shift him. And they didn't really do that until late. Ottinger hasn't been good enough. Stuart Skinner was unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to know. I want to study the Oilers. How do all of these somewhat they have some average players who are playing fantastic, or like good players who are prone to having off nights. Like, the Stuart Skinner stat makes no sense. He's 4-4. He has allowed 1 goal in the 4 wins total,
and like 14 in the others. Like it
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They're so much fun to watch. I really, really, really enjoy watching the Oilers because I don't know what to expect any given shift.
Jesse, I have to ask you, if there's a player on the Oilers roster that has impressed you the most this postseason, if there's one that like really stands out to you, who would it be?
Well, like how don't we just praise Connor McDavid every day of the week? Like it's so much depth, but like sometimes the easiest answer is the correct one. Like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are both 1-2 in playoff scoring.
Yeah,
like
that's
everywhere up and down the lineup, they're getting so much scoring. Like Evander Kane, if you want somebody outside of the top guys, like Evander Kane, not playing all year, stepping into the playoffs, and being, I think, the most dynamic player on the ice outside of the top guys every time he's out there.
He looks like a slam dunk top 6 player.
Like
yes.
Even though he's not playing in their top 6, but like
you want a guy who can look Florida in the eye and say, I can do everything you can do and I'm not scared of you. Evander Kane is that human being.
Yep.
Like he has all of the attributes to be a great playoff player. But like for me, at the end of the day, it starts with those 2 individuals. And I think the way they're playing frees up the rest of the roster. Like how they're creating and making it easy for their teammates. And like I said, they're getting so much depth, but those guys are still leading the way in terms of points. Like they're making it easy to get depth scoring and get a completely balanced lineup of scoring. It's been unbelievable to watch.
McDavid in this series, it reminds me of Crosby in 2016 against the Sharks.
Okay.
Because that was the year everyone wanted Phil Kessel to win the Conn Smythe. And I think he led the Penguins in scoring. And, oh, man, he got robbed. It would have been fun if he won. He didn't get robbed. And the reason he didn't, like, it was so much better to see this in person. I was in at game one in Pittsburgh. And the body language change in every Shark on the ice. When Crosby has the puck, oh shit, fuck out. And they're just doomed. Then they know they're doomed, and they know we're not getting anything productive done this shift. Nothing good is happening. It's just survival mode, and we're trying to prevent the worst from happening. Every time McDavid's out there, just try to keep it away from him. Yeah, because that's basically the best you can do.
I was trying to remember it wasn't the Evan Bouchard goal. I think it was the Evan Bouchard goal.
The first one?
The one he scored. I think the second goal of the game, whatever. Like, McDavid's out there creating space. I don't even think he touches the puck. But, like, his presence there where he's on the ice, and I think it's Nuge who has it, just him being out there affects the play.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, watching that whole breakout, like, sequence happen, McDavid's presence sucks in defense. And Evan Bouchard comes back from the blue line, slaps it home. And I think that was the wobbly one, right?
Yeah.
Where he barely got a piece of it, and it goes
right.
It goes in the goal. Like, McDavid doesn't get anything on the stat sheet about that goal, but he's there. He affects the play.
And same thing with that Klingberg goal at the end on the power play. They're on the power play, but he's drawing two guys.
Oh, yeah.
And then Klingberg gets an open look.
And you're right to put two guys on.
That's Draisaitl, sorry, with the puck. That's what I meant to say.
Like,
I didn't say Draisaitl.
You I don't know, you take your chances.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, if you're playing the odds, you probably want to take your chances with those two, and shutting them down, because you hope that you can shut down. Here's the thing: watching the Oilers for me, and I'm going to make it about the Leafs because that's what we need to do. Is it's such a reminder of why you don't run this back.
There's a gap.
Like, anybody that's watching the Panthers series or seeing the Panthers scores and going, "See, the Leafs were close." No, because here's what happens. You've got the Leafs, you shut down their top six, and their bottom six gets caved. Edmonton, you shut down their top two guys, their bottom six comes through. And it's because it's not four guys making that kind of money, it's two. And you've got a bunch of guys in the 5 to 7 range who are effective, right? We've talked about this for years, that middle ground of money, you can really get into a lot of trouble with bad contracts in that area. But you look at, Evander Kane, I think, has since re-signed his contract, like a new contract.
It's not a big number.
It's not the Sharks contract, right?
No.
And then there's, Hyman's got the 5.5, which has, gotten a lot of play in Toronto, of course. And you've got a bunch of guys in that range who are very, very useful and allow the Oilers to get favorable matchups for those guys when the top line guys, where Connor McDavid's only got his 4th and 5th.
Could Nuge be a top line winger on most other teams?
Yeah.
Could he be a first or second line center even on a lot of other teams? I don't know. We'll never know. But like, he plays his role next to those guys incredibly well,
and was happy to take his $5.5-6 million. And
how did he stay in that game?
Yeah.
I have no idea how he stayed in that game. Liam Bichel, I don't think it was malicious intent. In fact, it even looked like he tried to slow him down, but like that big fella wrecked him. And like the trainer, all his teammates on the bench, everyone's like, "Are you freaking okay?" And he's just like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." Like Nuge, he's all these years into his career still has a baby face, but he is like a really underratedly tough nut. Remember when he tuned up Justin Hall?
No.
Oh, it was
don't
embarrassing.
No,
it was so embarrassing. Like, bless Justin for answering the bell, but he got his ass whooped. Like,
I don't remember this very specific hit on Justin Hall.
No, it wasn't a hit. It was a fight.
Oh, fight. No.
Well, he got hit a few times during the fight, and it didn't look like a tickle.
Adam, if you remember the Evander Kane contract he had with the Sharks, that was the whole dispute because they terminated it over I think it was the COVID situation. He lied about it or whatever, and that was the 7 he was making then. And now he signed like that bridge little thing with the Oilers to play for the rest of the year, and then now he's making 5.1. and through next season too. It's a good
That's
deal.
a great deal.
Yeah.
That's a great contract.
5.1 that was LTIR the entire.
Yeah, they just got for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Well, one of the things Alan and I talked about on Agent Provocateur this past weekend was Alan thinks because the cap is expanding, a lot of teams are not going to spend right to it, but you're going to have a lot of veteran guys who take the first half of the season off and rehab injuries or work out or whatever, and then they join teams as like a free ad at trade deadline that you can sign rather than having to trade
Why
for
not?
it.
It's the Rob Gronkowski. Every
Yes.
year at the end
Yeah.
of the Super Bowl when the Patriots won, he'd like retire and then he'd come back in like December to get fine-tuned up for the playoffs.
Yes.
And it's
He doesn't need to do training camp and the first half of the season. Who cares?
And it's barely even a new concept. Marc Messier is greatest leader in the history of hockey. But like we keep getting told that they need to award after him. Then guess who awards the award every year?
The leader.
Him.
The leader himself. He's the leader of his
It's
own
literally
award.
a single guy who picks a whole trophy.
Yeah.
I like this
Okay,
guy.
now imagine this story. Austin Matthews skips training camp because he just doesn't like it.
Eric Carlson did that this year.
Yeah. But Carlson's not the captain,
Right.
right? Like imagine, McDavid.
Carlson was hurt.
I mean, it's conceivable that he would have been hurt, but Connor McDavid skips training camp because he doesn't feel like it. That's what Messier used to do. He used to just be like, meh. So like this has been around in that form, but it hasn't been around in, I'm just going to miss a month or two.
Well, but I think you look at what a guy like John Klingberg brings and what Corey Perry has brought. And he didn't sign midseason, but I feel like teams like the Oilers are going to take advantage of that because it's like you call up, like, let's say it's, in this particular case, like Max Pacioretty, right? Let's say he's not going to play the full year. He's going to play half the year, like Alan sort of mentioned.
Like he did this season.
Yeah.
Like
He kind of did.
What literally happened? Okay,
yeah. So imagine he's like, oh, okay, I get to pick between 3 or 4 different teams that all are going to go to the Cup. Who's not going to the Oilers for that?
Oh, I know.
Who's not going to join that team?
Well, there's a reason why, like, I do think it's funny that, a guy like Corey Perry, like everyone who ends up in that sort of situation where, all right, you got kicked off your team or whatever, like they end up in Edmonton because they're like, well, I might as well try to win a cup. Do I want to, I don't know, like the Edmonton thing and the tax and the weather and I don't know. Oh, I don't have a job right now. And it's like in the middle of winter.
And who plays there? Connor McDavid.
And Connor, I could be convinced.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys were, one thing you got to credit the Oilers with is they brought a lot of guys in over the last, year or two, and they stayed.
Yes.
Perry stayed. Henrique stayed. Stetcher stayed. Trying to think of the other guys they acquired who just opted to, they didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
They stayed.
Well,
and Bouchard's going to be on that list. He's not going anywhere.
It's also worth mentioning that the weather in Edmonton has been spectacular. It's been amazing.
Yeah, but they don't know that when they sign.
No, but like the spring is actually not a bad time to be there.
Good. Weather here stinks
it's
this year.
It's way warmer in Edmonton than it is here.
It's freaking beautiful today. Today
but
is
it's
beautiful.
still cool. Like where Edmonton, it's like 25 degrees and sunny.
The only one recently that I'm trying to think that didn't work out for the Oilers would be the Duncan Keith deal. Remember when they traded for Duncan Keith?
Well, he just retired.
and it was
He was bad.
It was a big thing.
He went to the Final Four.
He played one season with them, and then they played like that was the 22 season.
Yes.
So yeah, they won a couple rounds, and then that was it.
I'd kill for that.
Yeah, I'll
But
take
like,
it.
Sign me
but
up for
I'm
that.
saying like it wasn't like Duncan Keith stuck around for a little. They got the guy truly at the end this
Yes,
time. And
yes.
the examples we're giving, like usually they can nail it where they get Corey Perry. It's like Corey Perry still got like legs. How long
Juice.
can he go?
Yeah,
They get Evander Kane. He's still great and he's gonna go for a long time. And the Duncan Keith one wasn't as successful.
No.
It was the 1 year, and that was kind of it.
Oh God, what was I about to say? Sorry, I slept on the train on the way here. I
Steve
was
just woke up.
Yeah, like they've done an extremely good job. They've done an. Oh, here's what I was gonna say. Ekholm.
Yes,
They look as
Ekholm's a good one.
tight as they do, and they don't even have Matthias Ekholm. I don't know. Like listen,
He doesn't even need to play this series right now.
maybe not. Imagine they're able to get to the Cup final without Ekholm. I would have never agreed to that. Like before the playoffs. Oh, Steve, do you think? No. What? And keep in mind, I thought the Kings would beat them, but the second they beat the Kings, I'm like, all right, they're going to the Cup. Like, I just have such a hard time picturing anything other than a rematch.
Yeah.
Stars could realistically do something like
For sure they can.
Carolina might win game 4. I don't think they're gonna, but they might.
It's
They
hockey.
might. It's hockey. They might. But I think we all are pretty convinced as to how this ends. Unless, like, what do the Stars need to do? They have to find a way to score. They're not scoring. They're getting some chances here. Pucks are skipping over sticks and everything. And they need Jake Ottinger to be just way better. They need him to be better. He's been bang average. Maybe less. It's not good enough. Stuart Skinner was way better.
Was there a reason Nashville had to move off of Ekholm at the time? Like, they got a first, Reed Schaefer and Tyson Barrie coming to them for Ekholm.
And that was Dave.
And retained.
They retained a little bit
For a long time.
That was the waning David Poile years. I think they were doing a quick retool. And then yet last year, they were supposed to be bad. And then they went on that 12-game winning streak or 15-game winning streak or whatever, made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then everybody, myself included, was like, well, I guess they're good now.
Yeah.
And then they were bad again this year. So it almost like kind of that in retrospect, it looks weird, but I think that they were actually like...
They were trying to suck.
Yeah, because like it was at the end of... who was the guy? Wasn't it at the end of Pekarine's thing? And isn't that the end of his deal?
Yeah.
And like UC Saros was going to take over and Askarov was going to be there. And like,
I'm just looking. Reed Schaefer played well. Like, he had 14 points in 19 games, but that's all he played. So he must have got injured. Oh heavens. I don't know about that deal.
It seems odd in retrospect considering what Nashville did this past offseason where
Certainly.
they're like, hey, we're really good and we're going for this whole thing. But I guess at the time they weren't trying to be good and they didn't think they were good. And they like that 23 season when they made that deal, they finished 3 points out of the playoff spot.
Dude.
Like it's not like they were a bottom feeder and they were trying to sell, right?
I'm trying so hard
Point.
not to interrupt the Preds. Like, I feel like we haven't mentioned them in a while. And obviously it's the playoffs and they're not in the playoffs. But like in every offseason conversation, I just want to be like, the Preds might do something silly. Like, I'm so, the draft is going to be friggin' Barry Trotz season and it's going to be so fun. He's going to do so much weird shit.
what is he going to do?
Weird shit at him. It's going to be awesome. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait till he does it.
Was there potentially a contract thing there, Jesse? Did like the Oilers re-sign Ekholm?
Nope.
They haven't re-signed him since? No?
Nope. No, that was the weird thing is the Preds retained, I think it was 3 years of his deal, but it was like $250,000. It was like this nothing amount.
But it claims a retention spot, though.
Yes. So it eats up a retention spot for, it was like 3 years.
That's a stupid deal.
It wasn't
Wow.
clever. It wasn't clever.
What was happening at the time for the context? Because clearly I didn't remember what was going on at the time. The Preds were in full rebuild mode that 23 season because they made the Tanner Jeannot deal. To Tampa.
So they've been full rebuild, going for it. Full rebuild.
Yeah.
And that is accurately describing their last 3 years.
That's kind of what I'm getting to and like laying out here as we remember everything that went on. In the 23 season at the trade deadline, they thought they were cooked. They were done. They moved Tanner Jeannot to Tampa. They get a haul.
That was a crazy trade.
It was a really good trade. They move Ekholm to Edmonton. They're selling all the pieces they can. They get Reed Schaefer. They get that first round pick. They get Barry back, who's just the salary, matching and all that stuff. But it's that first round and Schaefer. And then the next season, as you said, Adam, was a surprise.
Yes.
They sneak into the playoffs. They lose in that first round.
Pretty competitive series.
In
like
a really close series.
Yeah.
And that kind of fooled them into thinking that offseason, the 24 offseason, this past offseason, we can go for it in a hard way and get Stamkos and make all this shit and Marchessault.
And Brady Shea, too.
And Brady Shea and all these
They
moves.
spent a lot of money.
But they were rebuilding at the 23 trade deadline. And we all forgot that.
But for that moment, we're all like, oh, Barry Trotz is a genius.
Yes.
There's no way that this 15-game winning streak is not repeatable.
Now wait. The Preds got, I think it was 5 picks
How did they get more for Jeannot than they got for Ekholm?
How did they get
How's that
more for
possible?
Jeannot than anyone has gotten for anybody? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? They got
More for Gretzky didn't get that.
I know, it's true. It's true.
the first rounder from that trade they haven't even used yet. That's this year.
Wow.
That's part of the reason they have 3 firsts this year is because of that trade. Oh my God, there's all these players. That will be a very fun trade tree to do one day, except for the part where Cal Foote is in that deal. That part didn't work out. Dylan McKinnon, Jason Shagabe, Kevin Bicker, Leo Saline Wallenius, and whoever they pick in the first round this year.
I think like year to year, just kind of spelling this out, I think maybe we should think about kind of where the teams were at before they like surprise.
Yeah.
So considering like Montreal, they go on this crazy end of the season run and that sort of stuff. And I guess you got to look at the context of the year before, and if you actually think they're going to take that step. And like Ottawa, a team that made the playoffs this year, they were building towards that. It wasn't kind of a surprise that they made it. So in Montreal, they're building towards that. But like Nashville, their playoff run last year, it's because of the Sphere and a really good run mid-season, and it comes out of nowhere, and that kind of wasn't who they were. They were truly the team that got close in the 23 season and then snuck in. And this year, we'll kind of see what they actually are.
Right. And okay. So I am trying to figure out. Okay. So here's something interesting too. Okay. March 19th, 2024. What do we always warn people about when we talk about how good a team is in the regular season?
All those garbage wins October to December.
No, I always talk about the garbage wins after the playoffs start to solidify.
Oh, like Buffalo.
Oh, if you're a rebuilding team.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah, the March.
Buffalo's like the king of that.
Or
stuff.
Vancouver with under Boudreaux, or you know what I mean?
You know, so I have a tiny baby daughter. And
Yeah.
she eats these things called puffs.
Yeah.
And you put them in your mouth and they dissolve. She's eating, but she's not. She's not eating anything.
It's just an activity. It's something
they're
to
just
keep you.
air.
Yeah.
And those wins from March onward, they're just puffs.
Yeah,
Well, so here's
the teams that get eliminated from the playoffs and all of a sudden they're good. Maybe it's because the games aren't that competitive anymore.
The Leafs were that
And you're
team
the only
for
one out
half
there
a
trying.
decade.
Yeah.
They might have been a top 5 March and onward team
So
for and never made the playoffs once.
listen, I don't want to be this guy, but March, because again, I went hard at the Preds for that.
Okay.
They went 13-0-2, right?
Holy shit. At the end of this year?
No, last
no.
year.
Oh,
2024.
the U2 run.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
And guess, like it was like March 20th is like when it ended. So you're talking about a post trade deadline run, the majority of that.
It was in the
And-
middle of it, remember? It screwed their plans up.
Oh, that's right. And I'm thinking like, is there a little bit of that going on there? Like you can't be fooled by March runs, right? You got to be careful with that. And I listen, what's clear is that the Preds have committed to a direction. What they could have used, see, we had too much Shanaplan. They could have used a Shanaplan. They could have used that this is our plan and we are not veering from our plan. And we will never veer from our plan, not ever, not once. If they'd stuck with the plan and they didn't have Shea and Stamkos and Marchessault, they would have the most money in the NHL to spend this offseason to do whatever the hell they want, right? And
They still have a lot of money.
They do. Tax-free situation, too.
But like they sucked
Now
in
they gotta buy.
23 and we're rebuilding. They go on a run in 24. They're like, we're good. They suck in 25.
And they're like, we might rebuild.
and then
Remember they said that?
Yeah.
Can I to compliment them?
Please. Yes.
The heist that was the Tanner Jeannot trade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tanner Jeannot is a rookie. This is a player you want. You're insane if you don't want this player. 24 goals, 17 assists, 41 points in 81 games, 130 penalty minutes.
How big is he, though?
6'2", 220.
That's right. He's
Nail gun.
beef.
Beef. So those 41 points in the 203 games since, he has 45. It's gone.
Hey, you know why? Because somebody on bad teams has to score.
no,
You got to be careful of that. No, you do. Sorry, you do.
He looked good.
Yeah, you know what? Ryan Dzingel had a 20-goal season, too. And then he went to the Leafs, and they immediately put him on waivers during that season.
Bates Battaglia.
Bates Battaglia. I'm telling you, man, there are guys, no disrespect to Tanner Jeannot, he'll find his way, and he'll find like he's been bumped around a few times.
We should create an all one-time 20-goal scorers team.
Oh man,
Guys who only scored 20
Matt
once.
Bolesky on the first line,
Captained by Bobby McMahon.
Yeah.
Let's friggin' go.
You don't think Bobby McMahon will get another one?
Well, he's only got one now.
Yeah, I think he'll get it.
Oh, I think that number's going to skyrocket to 2.
Oh, hey, all right.
I hope.
Anyway, the Oilers are just they are sort of breathtaking. Now, okay, so for the Panthers tonight, no Reinhart, no Mikkola, no Greer. And before you laugh at me for mentioning Greer, he's been a factor. He's been really good.
Oh yeah.
Mikkola clearly good, but had that weird sort of twisty fall into the boards. Reinhart, I don't know if we see him again in these playoffs. With the they're not talking about. I did see him
day-to-day.
Saw him in the dressing room without a brace on. So that's good because he was riling up the boys before Game 3.
Let's go.
And Freddie Anderson starts for Carolina in Game 4. So Kochetkov
Going back to Freddie.
I know. I'm shocked too, man. 10 goals in 2 games. But Kochetkov allowed 6, so I don't know. So here's my question.
Yes.
Is there any chance that tonight you put $2 on the Carolina Hurricanes and go, it's hard to sweep. They got to get 1.
I ain't doing it.
Okay, all right.
But here's how it might happen. The Panthers, several times over the last 2 or 3 years, have had a chance to close out and have lost. And I think that's because they don't mind a longer series. They don't mind it. They like it. They encourage it. I'm not saying they're going to lose it on purpose. I'm not necessarily saying they take their foot off the gas. But if they're the ones trying to stave off elimination, I think Reinhart plays. If they're the ones trying to stave off elimination, who knows? Maybe Mikkola plays. That's not what's happening here. It's Carolina with their season on the line. They need to have the best game of their life for 4 consecutive games. And Florida is making the smart bet that they're not going to be able to do that. It's just such a hard thing to do that like 2 teams have ever done it. So could Carolina win Game 4? Yeah. That doesn't mean they're winning anything.
Jesse, do you think Carolina squeaks one out? It's
I
hard
do.
to sweep. You do.
I
you think tonight's the night?
Yeah, I think that streak of like 0 for 15 in the conference finals,
Nuts.
like, that's one of the most ridiculous streaks in pro sports.
It's crazy.
I think it ends tonight because it is very difficult to win 4 games in a row. You got to think they have a little extra juice just fighting for their lives, and they're such heavy underdogs. It's 2.45 times your money. That I think there's a little bit of value there. They're being counted out big time by the sports books and BetMGM. So I think like $2 on that doesn't hurt.
Svechnikov has had a bad series. They've gotten his face. They've gotten his head. He's taken 2 penalties just for punching Matthew Tkachuk in the back of the head alone in consecutive games. Is this the game where he focuses up and he had a bit of an off season this year. He's down to 48 points in 70-something games, not his usual numbers. Is this the game where he goes, you know what, this is mine?
See, even that Game 6 win the Leafs had was 2-0. They didn't score till the 3rd, and it was in Florida. That's the reason I bring it up. Season on the line, it's in Florida. Like any of those like over props, or like shots or goals or I'm avoiding. No
Okay.
thanks.
Jess, what do you think? Are you picking an anytime goal scorer for Carolina tonight? Do you dare?
Martinook.
If I'm picking anybody, it's Aho.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think it'd be like, hey, stop hitting me. I'm going to score on you. Kind of goal.
Stop headhunting me.
Yeah. Stop
You're
it.
definitely going to hit him
Leave me
twice as
alone.
hard.
Yeah, and then
if
he's
he
going to
scores.
score, and then Matthew Tkachuk's going to come up to him and be like, hey, I have a flamethrower for some reason on the ice because Garrett Rank was like, hey, that's cool, Tkachuk. Hey, can you sign this stick? You can bring that flamethrower on the ice.
I reffed your dad.
Yeah.
Kelly Sutherland, like, that might be 2 minutes.
And then,
I'll let it go this time.
And then Tkachuk takes off his glove. He's got bare knuckles on. And he hits Aho in the head, and everybody's like, no penalty.
Okay.
So
I
I
like
feel
that.
like that's how it's going to play out. But
Okay.
Aho will score before all of that. Yeah.
All right, boys. Big game tonight. It might be it for my streams this year. That might
God.
be it.
You got 4 games.
I got 4
if it ends
games
tonight. That's
and that'll
crazy.
be it for me for game streams.
I
but-
picked the wrong series. I could have so much time off.
I know. I'm going to switch to video games. I got to do something. But anyway, that's your BetMGM big story. Go to betmgm.com/dangle for terms and conditions. For the Dallas Stars,
Oh yeah, that was an Oilers.
you got Jason Robertson scoring his first, which is, coming off injury. You can kind of understand it.
Can
Yeah.
we play Jason Robertson discovering that he scored his first goal?
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys, have you seen that?
No, because he didn't know.
So that,
It was a deflection, wasn't
that's
it?
the clip. Give me a second, Maddie. Let me just see. All right, Jason Robertson being told that this was his first goal of the playoffs.
It feel pretty good to finally get that first playoff goal for you. Gave me it?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
You're on the sheet is cool.
You got credit for the goal, so that's why I was asking.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't even know that.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
That's why we're
I don't know. I mean, whatever. I had a lot of scoring chances today, and hopefully it goes in more.
Thanks.
Cool.
This guy genuinely didn't know he scored a goal.
I like that he got. I like that he actually had there was a chance for levity after a game like that.
Yes.
Or at least for the report, he didn't seem too down to be jokey.
That
but-
might have been like the best thing to happen to the Stars.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
all right. Like,
It's a fun moment.
All right. Cool.
They gave me that?
All right. Nice.
No.
I mean, it's good for him to get one. Like, the Stars have a bunch of guys who can give more. I mean, Wyatt Johnston, it's not given nearly enough. Jason
minus
Robertson,
16 not good enough for you?
no, it's pretty bad. And like he's not scoring.
Yeah, and not having Rupe sucks.
Not having Rope sucks.
Can I ask you guys about that? We didn't get the chance to talk about the Darnell
Oh.
slash, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that because that
Well-
happened Friday night, and I do you like obviously Pete DeBoer's comments after the game were, well, if that had happened to Connor McDavid, I'm like, yo, I've watched enough Connor McDavid playoff hockey to know that that's objectively not true.
Yeah.
He doesn't get calls. He's only drawn 5 or 6 penalties for this postseason.
You're okay. The moment the playoffs begin, as a coach, your number one objective isn't video sessions, X's and O's, inspiration. It's lying.
Yes.
It's being such a liar.
Right.
Every
But-
one of them is such a liar the moment the playoffs begin.
When people said that should have been more than 2 minutes, to be honest, I didn't get that.
Okay, it's really
So, like, is it
difficult.
intent to injure? And they never call intent to injure if it's at someone's ankle. By the way, they just don't do that.
I want to get one thing out of the way right away. Rope Hintz made the trip and then he was on the ice for warm up, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, hallelujah, he is risen," as if he was milking it. Well, I tell you what, let's give this guy an Academy Award because he didn't play. He's injured, and you guys are assholes for that.
Here's Pete DeBoer on the Darnell Nurse slash.
Sure.
Do you have an update on Rope, and what did you make of that slash?
Well, I'll answer your question with a question. Does anyone in this room think if Connor McDavid gets carried off the ice like that it's not a 5-minute major?
That's the part where I think he's right.
Oh, that's my answer to your question.
Right side, third row. Follow up on that. Mason Marchman said he thought there was intent by Darnell on that slash against Hintz.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well, again, if that's 97 carried off the ice in the same situation, I think we all know the answer to what that looks like for us.
Sorry,
And-
Pete, just
and
to follow
you know
up on
what?
that, is there an update on his injury?
I have
or
to be
his
honest, I
status?
don't think that's
have
true.
anything, yeah, no.
That's not how the NHL's handled. Look at the way the Winnipeg Jets
You know
rode
what?
Connor
Yeah.
McDavid like a pony.
You're right.
In
You're
the Canadian
right.
division. Are we kidding?
I take it
Who
back.
Are we quitting?
People
Like,
are allowed to evolve within 30 seconds. I changed my mind.
Yeah, no, that's not true. But I get what he's saying, which is he wants more for that. I don't know though that the league, because the way that they set up like intent to injure, it's always like, did you try to take out his head?
Can I tell you where he looks stupid? Where he looks completely stupid?
Sure.
Is
Is it Western Conference Finals?
Well, it's
generally?
it's the Western Conference Final. Yeah, it's a Western Conference Final. You went in front of the media about your guy getting hurt. What'd you do in Game 3 besides take a sound beating?
Well, that part of it for like Mason Marchman was like, well, he better keep his hat or something like that, and
But
then
okay,
proceeds to do nothing.
Did you hit anybody?
No.
Did you fight anybody?
No.
Did you even get a power play then? I don't think they got a power play.
I will check that.
Maybe one?
For anybody who hasn't seen the slash, here is Nurse in front of the net.
Oh, it's bad.
Taking a big hack at Rupe.
So it is A two-handed, or is it two-handed? I don't even know if it's two-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's two-handed.
When he connects with him, he kind of lets go of one because he whacked him so hard.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
Dallas had 2 power plays.
I don't think it's intent because Darnell looked genuinely confused. Like,
What are you doing?
well, like, it's funny. He didn't like immediately call Hintz a diver or anything because he's like, he's actually hurt. Why is he actually hurt? I hit him in the shin guard.
Yeah. And I
Right?
think he got him between the shin guard and the skate tongue.
Yes. So we've talked about this. I don't know that this is exactly the injury, but we've talked about this type of injury before. It's a really confusing looking injury, and it's more common in like the UFC and mixed martial arts, a foot drop, where they hit a nerve and it like shuts your foot off. Like, it's really weird. I don't know how painful it is. I've never had it. It looks pretty painful right there. But it strikes a nerve and you're just not able to use the thing. It's not so severe that you're not able to do anything because obviously Hintz, he took warm up. He's obviously walking around like he's not hobbled, but he wasn't good enough to go for this game. I don't know how that happened. I'm so confused. But here's the thing. It's a two-handed slash, which is a vicious, hard slash. And it resulted in a bad way. If you high stick someone, it's 2 minutes. If you high stick someone and arbitrarily draw blood, it's 4. Right? Because one is, that's no good, but it happens all the time. The other, that's no good and it happens all the time, but there's blood. It's so arbitrary.
Yep.
It's so arbitrary and ridiculous, but you're taking a common infraction and you're going, because there's blood, let's increase the severity of the punishment.
Yes.
This is a two-handed slash that resulted in an injury. This isn't some fourth liner trying to take Darnell Nurse out of the game. This is their number one center going down and not returning to the game. That should be more than 2 minutes. Should it be 5?
But again,
I don't know.
So if you're going to call an intent to injure, by the way, again, like if Alex Pietrangelo gets back into the playoffs and comes in and tries to hack off Leon Draisaitl's arm again, he's still not going to get an intent to injure penalty. He's not.
How about
because
this?
they only do it with head targets. I don't know why refs have it in their head that that's what it is. But I listen. Okay, you think it should be more than 2? What do you call it? How do you? Because then you're looking at intent, and intent is impossible to judge.
I don't think so. You two-hand slash someone, you're in trying to hurt them.
So
are you not?
So should there be? Here's an idea.
Cross-check someone in the ribs. You're trying to hurt them.
Here's a thought. So high sticking, if you draw blood, it's 4.
Yeah.
Slashing, if you use 2 hands, is it 4?
I think
so. It's a one-handed slash or a two-handed slash.
The refs, I don't think, have that option here. They called it 5.
No, I know, but I'm just saying I'm creating a rule.
No. That's the problem. Is you're creating a rule. Like I think that's a perfectly reasonable outcome there.
Okay.
You call it 5. You get to review it. The only option they have is to do 5 or 2. I think calling that 5 and having the option for 5, 2, or 4 there makes plenty of sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than 2. It's very clearly a slash. Is it a 5-minute major? Like, I've always said there should be more types of penalties. Like, no one wants to call the 5-minute major because that's like a death sentence. Like, it's 5 minutes. You could score 4 goals on the thing. We've seen it happen. Or you could score none. But you can score more than 1. What if it's 5 minutes and if you score, it's over? What if, why aren't there 1-minute penalties? Like, why does it have to be 2 or 4? There's no 3 or stuff like that. Maybe I'm overcomplicating a game that is already very complicated and refs have a tough time. Underratedly, and I'm not saying this is why the Oilers won or anything, it was going in both directions. The refs had a terrible game.
Yep.
They were bad.
Wasn't that a
in
Wes
Game 3.
McCauley game? Or was that
Kelly
Friday?
Sutherland and
Kelly Sutherland.
Eric, was it Eric Furlat?
Oh boy.
I think it was. Well, I mean, we're in the conference final. They're all bad. They're all bad.
That's the Mount Rushmore of oh god refs.
The
Kelly Sutherland, Eric Furlat, and Wes McCauley.
It's all refs with like plus 1,200, plus 1,500 games played, and the more games played you see, I guarantee you, the worse they are.
Yeah,
that's how it works. They resent the way the game is now compared to when they started in the league. So if you see these guys, so the refs from last night, Kelly Sutherland began his NHL career in 2000. Furlat began in 2001. That means they began officiating at least 5-10 years before that. So we're talking about they grew up with the 90s whistle.
Yeah.
Maybe even 80s.
Yeah.
Like, when did they play? Because they probably grew up playing.
It's probably a violent game.
Yeah. And they hate the way it's played today. They hate it. All the old head hate it. Like, I am so tired of them faking it. They hate it. And they don't like rules. They hate them, and so they don't call them. But like last night, the Oilers should have got a delay of game penalty. It went out. It went out and not off of anybody. It went out, and they missed it. The next shift, the Oilers score. And then they score again. It's 2-0. Now, calls get missed all the time. Cry about it. Don't go down 2-0, right? There was a trip on an Oiler by a star. I think it was Jason Robertson. I don't remember who the Oiler was. His stick is in the skate blade. Mm-hmm. Automatic every single time. Nope. Didn't get called. They, by my count, and I can't remember them all off the top of my head, I had like 4 or 5 missed or just bad calls. Oh, there was a high stick that was called. It wasn't a stick. It was his own stick.
Yep.
That hit him in the face. I think that went against the Oilers. Maybe that was the one power play. They had just such a bad game. But getting back to Darnell Nurse, a 5-minute major seems like too much. 2-minute minor seems like not enough.
Jesse, what did you think?
I think by the definition of the rule, they got it wrong. On the ice, they called it a 5-minute major. I think they called it correctly initially, and then downgrading it to 2 minutes was the incorrect ruling by the definition of what's outlined in the NHL rulebook. NHL Rule 61 says a major penalty at the discretion of the referee based on the severity of contact shall be imposed on a player who slashes an opponent. When injury occurs, a major penalty must be assessed under this rule.
Oh.
Whenever a major penalty is assessed for slashing, a game misconduct penalty must also be imposed. Thank you to Scouting the Ref, who does some of the best work I think we have in the NHL circles. They always cover this stuff with great depth and outline everything very clearly. I think the refs should have taken Rule 61 and understood that when an injury occurs, a major penalty must be assessed under this rule. It's their discretion to call how severe they think a slashing penalty is. They leave that up to the referees, which is like, yeah, you got to have some discretion on how they call it. But I think in that instance, we can see a very vicious slash, whether he intended to hit him there specifically in the body or not. It's away from the play. It's a giant hack, and it leads to injury.
That is a perfect summation of what it is.
I feel like under what I just read, they should call a 5-minute major.
100%.
And I understand why they didn't. Slashes like that happen 100 times a game in front of the net. Net front battles.
Maybe it shouldn't.
Yes, but what did this lead to?
This led to an injury. There are a million slashes. There are more cross checks, I should say, than slashes that happen in front of the net. And a lot of that stuff goes uncalled because it's net front battles. But in this instance, it was so far away from the play. The guy was on the ice injured, and then he didn't play the next game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
it's a bad outcome.
Is an injury.
Yes.
And in the definition of the rule, they specify that when an injury occurs, a major penalty must be assessed under this rule.
I don't know how you get away from that. I don't know how you call it any other way.
Well, Jesse, here, go on to the next thing, which was what the refs had to say about their call after the game. Go ahead.
They don't talk after the games.
Oh, okay. Well, here's what their superiors had to say after the game. Go ahead.
No, they don't talk about these.
Oh, okay. Well, here's what the Department of Player Safety had to say after the game. Go ahead.
They don't share that.
It's not a league. Listen, we're watching the best hockey players in the world compete for a trophy handed out by an alleged commissioner A commissioner of what? It isn't a league. It's not. It's horrifying.
Having a look at the Dallas stat line, by the way, Wyatt Johnson's actually a minus 17 after last night.
Good gravy.
Matt Duchene is a minus 13.
Okay, I'll get to Duchene in a minute. How many points does Johnston have?
8.
8. Okay. How many
4
points
goals,
does
4
Duchene
assists.
have?
6, because he was snake bit through the first 2 rounds. He did score in this series.
Yeah, he got a game winner.
Finally got it.
in
Finally
the
got
series.
it. Granlund, by the way, has 5 goals, but 3 of them came in one game in the second round. Like you gotta.
It's actually kind of crazy.
Like their center, they have an issue at center. Right.
They're not getting. Well, they have a bigger one now
without Rupe. Yeah,
they're not getting a lot of good performances out of people, and they're
that
still
you expect good performances out of.
Yes, and they still have come this far, and they still look okay.
Yep.
It's tough back there, though.
Yep.
It's tough.
Yeah. Matt Duchene's never been a crazy playoff performer, just looking back. Like his best run was with Columbus in 18-19, where they swept the
he has some big playoff moments, but like overall.
But I'm looking at like last year, he had 6 points in 19 games for Dallas. This year, 6 points in 16 games for Dallas so far. So he's, a little bit of that Leaf in him. And it's funny because
is he a free agent?
He is a free agent.
Oh,
and he's
baby.
a centerman, and they need that.
Oh, great.
I curious about where Dallas is if they don't have the balls to make that Rantanen deal. Like, we're talking about the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, you need a game breaker, and this is what people have been saying about the Hurricanes. And this is why I kind of really liked the Rantanen deal for the Hurricanes when they got him. I was like, okay, listen, they have a huge collection of good to very good players, like very few weak links. You're going up against the craziest monsters the NHL has to offer. And I just don't think you can send wave after wave of very good at them. And ironically, that's sort of the Dallas Stars. It's wave after wave of very good. And then they get this game breaker, who I don't think they're playing enough, but also he's not performing enough. Like, after basically winning a series on his own, he's not really scoring.
I mean,
I thought he played okay.
So it's funny, guys, when he was playing against Winnipeg, 25 minutes a night. This series, 1956, 2052, and 1809.
That's not nearly enough. Let's play the wheels off the guy. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What'd you get him for? You see all the money you gave him? What are you doing? Double shift him.
Jess, I want to ask you something. You've watched the Florida series, right?
Yes.
If Mikko Rantanen was playing with Fetch and Aho, would the Carolina Hurricanes have at least a win right now?
No. The Carolina Hurricanes, the way they play hockey doesn't lend themselves to Mikko Rantanen's game. I think we saw that during the brief moments that he was there. Rod Brind'Amour's system doesn't lend to Mikko Rantanen being able to do what he wants, and I don't think it would have been a great fit, and I think we all saw that. And,
right.
I don't think that even having Rantanen helps the Hurricanes in this series against Florida. Florida's just the better team.
I mean, it's one guy. Right?
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, we're talking about his outsized impact on the Dallas Stars so far.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And I'm just wondering if...
Not in this series against Florida.
Yeah.
Like, no, that one guy doesn't help this team.
They got to get Granlund more ice, because I like his game anyway, and they got to get Rantanen more ice. And, right. I mean, getting Hintz back would obviously help.
Yeah.
But they don't got him.
Let's talk about that Florida series for a sec.
Well, just announced Reinhart, Mikkola,
that's how it was going to start the segment.
And Greer not playing. There you go. I didn't know if you'd seen it. Sorry. I keep forgetting you're the one with the computer in front of you.
It's funny. Mikkola's that was just a weird play. Trips, and it looked, I think he put his shoulder out. Like, that
2
was
goals.
I know. But I look at the
Marner had 2 goals.
The Panthers, and I go, even losing that, like, remember one of the other adjustments they made in that series against Toronto was they flipped their fourth line out. They changed every guy, and Gadjevich, Greer, and who's the last guy?
Nosek.
came in and they were
Boquist and-
immediately an issue or immediately a problem.
Oh, Nosek especially was a huge issue. That's what Florida did last year.
Yeah.
They completely switched it out. And that was one of the things I flagged this year because I'm like, well, like, who's their Stenlund? Because Stenlund to me was so good for them. I thought Lorentz was really effective. Ryan Lomberg, Kyle Okposo, Nick Cousins. Like, all those guys are gone. Every one of the names I just mentioned are gone. One of them was even on the team they played.
And what did they do?
They friggin' kicked their ass.
They found other guys.
They found other guys. Nosek was great. Boquist, I think I mentioned Marner had 2 goals in 13 games. I think Boquist is tied him. And now he is back ahead of Austin Matthews for career goals after the first round.
Oh God.
Like they just keep regenerating. So to me, like, no disrespect to Greer, that's not the loss because it's built into the equation that they can replace him.
Right.
Mikkola is a little more difficult. I assume Balinskis gets back in, and Reinhardt.
Adam, you've been streaming the series on the
I
SDPN
have.
YouTube channel.
I sure have.
I've found, like, from puck drop of game number 1 through the whistle at the end of game number 3, this series has been relatively boring because I think every time these two teams step out on the ice, one team is clearly better than the other.
Oh yeah.
Have you had fun streaming the series?
Yes.
Have
I've
you
had a
found it
blast.
entertaining?
I've had a blast because our Panthers listeners are a hilarious bunch, and our Canes listeners are very very honest about their team.
Yeah.
They're very much like, this sucks and I hate this.
Yep.
But okay, just to give you an idea, like, so we get into the third period, start the third period of game 3.
Saturday night. Hockey night in Canada.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hockey night in Southern United States.
It is 1-1.
Hockey night in Sunrise.
It is a tie game.
and
Could
it's
go either way.
It's
yeah, totally.
It
1-1. And I'm like, this is the best the Carolina Hurricanes have played. And that was the best they had played.
How could you deny?
And
it's clearly.
And they were getting shots. And
Yeah.
listen, they weren't creating great opportunities, but they were. Kachekov looked good.
Yeah.
And the
Holy
Panthers,
shit, did he explode?
the Panthers go and score more goals
Oh,
than they have in a game in this series. So far, it's been 5, 5, and 6.
how many 5-goal periods have there been in these playoffs?
Oh, I don't think there have been any. That's the most in Panthers history.
5 goals in a single
They've
period.
never had a 5-goal
Wow.
period. And I think,
And they were doing side quests.
yeah.
They scored 5 goals, and then we're like, we're up big. Let's go kick Sebastian Aho's ass.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then you saw
side quest.
and Marchand's going after Gostisbehere for the throw, shooting the puck at him.
Side quests.
It's crazy.
Oh my
But
God.
that's, you know what I like about the Panthers? There's a lot of things I like about the Panthers. Guys, the thing that so Anthony Stolarz gets injured in the second round. We all know it. What do the Leafs do about it?
Fuck all.
Fuck all.
Well,
So no, did they win? Yes. But
they took some guys
But
out.
hey, guess what? You have to do the side quest too.
Yeah, there was some.
Now,
They
no,
did get
there-
into
no.
some chippy shit.
Chip, come on.
Well, like Domi on Barkov, Ekman Larson on Rodriguez. Like Rodriguez missed games.
Who went at Bennett?
No one.
No one.
No one.
No one.
No one.
He's your starting goaltender. No one?
I know.
No one.
No one.
Reinhardt goes out and they're like, we're going to kill you, Aho. And you saw Kachuk in the box at the end of the game yelling at Aho, keep your head up in game 4. We're coming.
Barkov got hit by Brandon Hagel. And the next game, Aaron Ekblad's like, I'm taking your fucking head off. And he paid for it with a suspension.
1-game suspension.
I think it was 2. But
No, it was 1.
Oh, whatever. Like,
Oh, no, you're right. It's 2. You're right.
It was worth it to him.
It was 1 game against the Leafs.
Yeah,
that's all I remember.
But like, it's almost, oh man, I don't like that Barkov got hit, but now I get to take revenge on whoever did it, and it happened to be a good player on the Lightning. Who Dukin?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just friggin'
And by the way,
nails
Aaron
him.
Ekblad did the flying elbow, the flying forearm thing to Jackson Blake in game
He's done that
1.
to 3 or 4 people.
He
in
did it
these playoffs.
to
It's
the
a
back
joke.
of his head
Yeah.
in game 1.
Oh, yeah.
And that's fine. It was totally it was the exact same play as the Hagel play.
What did you think of Lusterinen getting 5 for that hit on Blake?
I think he absolutely deserved it. And here's what
he could have let up.
Greg Wyshynski makes a point in immediately after that because he's at the game and he's like, listen, what is Lusterinen supposed to do? And because
Not
Jackson Blake
follow through.
Jackson Blake puts himself in a bad position.
Yes,
And I get that.
but he follows through.
But but it's on the guy throwing the hit to not throw the hit. Luostarinen, and by the way, we've said time and time and time again, the accidentally on purpose-o-meter for the Florida Panthers is sky high.
No, they're the unluckiest team in hockey, Adam. Unluckiest team. And you know what? I bet they feel real bad about that. Let's reward them with another cup. Let's give it to them.
And they're going to deserve it.
A parade at a bar. Listen, I'm so tired of the pearl clutching and everything that goes on.
So Luostarinen finally gets a penalty that matches the crime, I think.
Goal?
And guess what the Florida Panthers do?
What?
They do what I've been screaming about teams needing to do on PK. They pressure your defense. They pressure you at the blue line. And what does it do? It leads to turnover after turnover.
They've been doing
turnover.
that for 3 years.
And nobody's ever adjusted to it.
They've been doing that for 3 years.
They're going to make you make a mistake. It's crazy how good they are at it. And nobody goes, you know what, maybe we should try that.
I don't know how they're not exhausted all the time. Like, they have the craziest engine of any team in the league. No one's got a better engine, not even the Oilers. That doesn't mean the Oilers don't do some things better, but like they're just non-stop, completely non-stop. And your job as a GM this summer is to go out and get a team that sort of looks at least a little bit like that. Like, okay, they're fast. You know, it's not the easiest to find fast guys who are also defensively responsible, who have a scoring touch. They'll kill you. If you get a player and you're not afraid of them, would you be afraid if your team was playing this player? If the answer is no, don't sign them.
Well, specifically if you're the Canes, they need to get some fear in that lineup.
Is anyone afraid? Like,
no, nobody's afraid of them. And you look at so Jess. I don't know if you saw the comments after the game. Rod Brandamore said the best players on the ice can't be Jordan Martinook and Jordan Staal for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, he's right.
And he's right. And what's scary about that is I would have told you after game 2, and I think I said it on the show, I'm not sure Jordan Stahl's an NHL player.
He's an NHL player.
I think he's
just
close
an old
to done.
one.
I think he's close to done. And a series like this, he gets exposed by Florida very quick. And I know he was never fleet of foot. And I know he carries a lot of gravitas in that organization. I'm not trying to hate. I'm just trying to say I don't know that he's got it anymore. And he was, along with Martinook, their 2 best players.
Okay.
Which is you're screwed.
This is very funny.
It's over.
This is very funny because of how big Jordan Staal is.
He's huge.
I tried to type Jordan Staal into HockeyDB and it came up as Jordan Steak.
Oh.
Beef! He had 36 points this season. He has 2 points in 13 games in these playoffs. From the beginning of the playoffs, I wasn't afraid of this team. Like,
kind of makes you wonder.
They're not terrible. Like, they're very obviously not terrible. They won 2 rounds,
yeah,
which is something I would kill for my team to do. We all knew they weren't gonna win. They're not built for winter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not.
No, they're built for winter. They're not built for spring.
Well, they're not built for spring. They're not thick enough. They're not hardy enough. They're not mean enough.
There's not a single guy on that team where you go, if I take a cheap shot, he's coming after me.
I mean, Brent Burns is so damn old.
Dude, Brent Burns is physically a non-factor in this.
Brent Burns back in the day, but it ain't back in the day.
He's 38.
Jordan Staal back in the day, but it's not back in the day. And then you're looking at like, oh, they got Kotkaniemi back. Oh, like, gives a damn, man. They have 2 rookies on their decor right now.
Yeah.
One who they were playing without injuries.
Yes.
They might win a game.
It's a little bit of revisionist history. Like, I thought they looked really good through 10 games. Like, they didn't play a bad game for 10 games. I don't think that should just be dismissed. I thought they'd have a better challenge against Florida, and I didn't have the foresight to see them show up like this. And like, there's a case to be made for the team needs a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
Based on the last few times they've flamed out of the playoffs and their performances in the Eastern Conference Finals, and even last year in the second round against the New York Rangers.
They look great against the Rangers.
Yeah. But like, clearly they don't have whatever it takes to get over that final hump. And like, I don't know if I knew it going in, but I think it's clear now that they don't. And Adam, you were talking about how Brendan Moore was talking about how Stahl's the best player on the ice like that. Did you know that Svechnikov has one shot in this series? He has
Wow.
one shot on goal.
He's been terrible.
in 3 games.
And 3 bad penalties, too.
I think that's a case of where you build a roster where we're going to rely on our systems. We're going to rely on not having the game breaker. And they've been trying to do this formula for enough years now that I think they've come to the realization it doesn't work. And that's why you go out and do the Mikko Rantanen deal. But that was temporary because you couldn't get him to sign a contract and he didn't really work in your system. So there's some sort of push and pull here with the Hurricanes where they need to play a different type of game that'll lend itself better to the later rounds of the playoffs and not just beating up on lesser opponents. And they also need some better high-end talent that's going to show up more consistently than the performers they have right now, because consistently year in, year out, you have the Aho and Svechnikov, and Slavin doesn't provide offense. So, where are you getting this game-breaking ability?
And you lose Pesci and Shea, and that sucks.
And that definitely sucks.
And so Sean Walker, while good, is not a replacement for those guys.
Not a replacement for that. So Brent Burns is old, as he said.
So the thing with the Hurricanes, and
they also have one of the lowest payrolls in the NHL.
Yeah, they had the money. I mean, they were going to spend it on Mikko. The Canes,
they didn't. It's unspent.
The Canes, because it rots now. Now it's just like bad apples at Loblaws. It's you throw them out.
Yeah, there's no cavalry coming over the hill.
Yeah, you don't get a bonus next year because you didn't spend at the cap. The thing is with Carolina, if you ask their fans, and I think they're right about this, this is technically a retool year anyway, right? Because the Rantanen thing didn't work out. They lost Shea and Pesci. There are places on this roster they need to build.
It's a good outcome in context, I guess, but
that's because I asked after game 2. I put a video up. I'm like, is Rod's job potentially on the line? Because they are not in this series at all. They've scored 4 goals in 3 games. They've had 16 scored against. 16-4 in 3 games.
Yeah,
that's insane. Now, but
okay.
So who was the guy they were looking at acquiring and were close to acquiring other than Mikko Rantanen?
Ricard Raquel.
No, other than that.
I thought it was Ricard Raquel.
No. Bigger name.
Oh, Mitch Marner.
Bigger than that. Well, not bigger than that.
Connor McDavid.
Before Mikko Rantanen, the other name was Elias Pettersson.
Oh.
And so my question is, on Jesse's point, are they actually really committed to changing? Because Elias Pettersson is more of what they have. And he's also a very expensive version of that, and also has legitimate issues of what kind of condition is he going to show up to camp in.
But I think it's a sign that they are looking to do a big deal for a guy who can be a more impact offensive threat.
Sure.
I think it's actually a good thing that they are looking into, because they didn't do Pettersson. They didn't end up doing that because they had enough evidence there. But I think Tulski is looking at the situation and he knows what they're missing, and that's why they're in on Pettersson and they did the Rantanen deal.
Right.
You don't need us to tell you the Hurricanes need to make moves. The Hurricanes think the Hurricanes need to make moves.
Right.
They tried to make them, and the problem is they didn't. They even made one and undid it. Again, they're not bad. They're obviously not bad. I think they're in this weird category of team that is clearly not bad, clearly good, and clearly not good enough. Who's in that category? Hurricanes, Leafs. They're clearly not bad. They're clearly not good enough. Kings, clearly not bad, clearly not good enough. You maybe throw the Capitals in there, maybe. I don't know what you do there. And maybe it's solved by simply spending the cap space that you have.
Yeah,
you have so much.
And apparently they're one of the teams super interested in Marner, and I get that. I think they made a mistake.
They're interested in everyone. Do something.
I think they made a mistake extending Freddie in the 2nd round, because now they've got him through next year, and I'm not.
It doesn't make anything. It's a small contract,
I guess. And how far can you really expect a team with the top 4 of Slavin, great, Walker, good, Gostisbehere, good in certain contexts, and Jalen Chatfield, and Brent Burns and Dmitry.
Well,
Dmitry Orlov has got to be hurt. He got torched, man. What was he, -5? It was crazy.
Again,
every goal was him.
All of it is just good, not great. It's good, not great. And
they're going to have to spend some money. And I think
Hurricanes fans I know have been a little frustrated.
28 million they have to spend.
Hurricanes fans I know have been a little frustrated with the way we've talked about the team.
They have the same amount of money to spend as the Leafs do, essentially.
What, right now?
No, for free agency this year.
Yeah.
It's not that
and
great.
they're not going to spend it.
Okay, sorry.
That's not what they do.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just
No, their series against New Jersey, like, yeah, you give them credit. They won a series. Series
Totally.
are hard to win. But yeah, you should. You played the Albany Devils or whoever the hell their minor league affiliate is these days. I don't know. It always changes. I know that's what it was like 10 years ago. I don't know. And then the Caps didn't scare me
But
either.
I don't think you need to go back and dismiss their victory.
No,
I agree.
I'm not.
That's what
I'm
it
not.
sounds like you're doing.
No, well, yeah, I guess maybe a little.
Yeah,
but
like they won those games and they also won them in impressive fashion.
Yes.
So like I don't
Handily.
think there's anything you shouldn't take away because they beat the opponents that they should have.
But here's been what some people have said in a 1 through 8 or a 1 versus 8 playoff system. The current Eastern Conference Final is a first round matchup.
yes.
The Hurricanes versus the Panthers, and then the Hurricanes are out first round, and maybe it's a completely different conversation.
Right.
We're like, yeah, it's time to blow this up.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, like you can't, but like that's not the reality because like you look at who the Leafs should have played in the first 2 rounds. Like they wouldn't have faced
I don't even
Florida
remember.
until the Eastern Conference Finals. It would have been they would have played I think New Jersey, and then they would have matched up with Tampa, assuming Tampa won their first round matchup.
Dude, sign
And
me
then-
up for that path.
And then they play Florida in the Eastern Conference Finals if everything kind of broke out that way. And then you're like, okay, so keep Brendan Shanahan. Like you can't exist in that world where you hypothetically made the Eastern Conference Final. Like the Florida, they won 2 rounds here. Like they did that.
I don't think you live in a world where you're like, we need to win X amount of rounds. It's you're in a playoff series. Who cares what round it is? You're getting killed.
Sure. Yes. And I think we've reached that now that
Yeah.
we see them against Florida and it's not close. And
Yeah.
they need a bit of a retool here at the higher end of their lineup. I think the depth works. I think they have a bunch of depth. I think that's their entire roster is 20 guys worth of depth.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's the problem.
It's
That's the
about
problem.
the higher end of it. And
Yeah.
like you got your top end defenseman too in Slavin. Like not to take away from him, I said he doesn't have the offensive capabilities of like McCarr
doesn't.
or Bouchard even.
Yeah,
or
but he's
Quinn Hughes.
all-world defense.
But the defense is the top end of anybody. You know, it's about getting more of the offensive side of things and the high end talent, which is like an impossible thing to just acquire easily in the NHL. That's the hardest thing to get.
And they didn't
We've
have.
said this a few times this season. Every team has good players. Every team.
Some.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, maybe perhaps not every team.
Yeah.
They're the better
Most
version of the
teams-
Kraken. They're
Like-
the better version of the Kraken. They don't have a single player on this team.
Oh God.
They don't have a single player on this team that's a point a game player. Not one. Not a single player
Shit.
This season.
this season.
Oh shit. You might have nailed it. Oh shit. Oh no, they are a better version of the Kraken.
Better goaltending, better overall players. But
I like Joey Decord a lot. Wow.
I
No,
mean,
yeah, but- and, like, the Kraken are
Grubauer's
another
such a
team.
negative.
What?
Grubauer's such a negative though. Like
Oh,
I'm
he's
talking about
so
tandem.
terrible.
He's so bad.
Oh, yeah. If it's the tandem versus
I
here, go out and win it for us, Joey.
what at some point we need to have the Kraken conversation because I am still. This is now what they're on their 3rd or 4th head coach already. Like Ron, how many bullets does Ron Francis get? How many bad contracts?
Didn't he just get promoted?
How many big lumbering defensemen can you pick up?
What?
And signed
Not
to 5-year
enough to
deals.
make Philip Grubauer look good, I guess.
It's crazy. Crazy.
No, listen, it doesn't matter what round it is. You know, you get to the Stanley Cup final. I think you get to feel good about yourself being in the Stanley Cup final. You get swept.
You don't feel good.
How close were you?
Well-
like it's a difficult evaluation. Like, man, we won 3 rounds of playoff hockey, and then we got murdered.
Yeah.
How did we let that happen? That happened like 4 straight years in the 90s. It was weird every year. Like, oh, okay, this team's really good. They made it to the Cup final. Oh, they got swept. They suck.
Panthers. Who else got swept?
Panthers got
Washington
swept.
Capitals got swept. Against
Capitals
Detroit.
got swept. The Flyers got swept.
Yes.
And the Red Wings got swept,
They
actually,
did.
as well. It was 4 straight years. It was 95, 96, 97, 98. Yeah. Not only did the Red Wings win back-to-back cups, they swept back-to-back.
Crazy.
They swept the Flyers. They swept the Caps. Crazy. They swept Lindros.
And Brindamore.
And Brindamore and Kolzig
John LeClaire,
Kolzig
Michael
was
Renberg.
crazy.
Yeah.
People forget how good Kolzig was in that little pocket of time.
Yep.
Dude, I mean,
So
you're
what
good
we're
enough or
saying-
you're not.
So what we're saying here, Jesse, I guess, is what you're hinting at is that this is a good baseline team. They got to add elite talent to it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They're not in a bad position, like, to improve. They're not. Like, they have a ton of assets. That was I was disappointed at the trade deadline. I'm like, you got these futures for Rantanen. You need to use them. And I think they tried and they failed. Stankoven is so clearly a player. Like, he's so good for them.
But if you're gonna have him on the roster, he's 5'8".
That's
you're
okay.
You're gonna need bigger guys around him that
Yes.
can pummel.
Yes.
You have to balance that.
I think he's a tough nut. He's a good player. He's really young.
Spectacular.
You
player.
you have to go out and make yourself not a relevant team, because again, that's just, they're too good to be talked about that way. You should be elite. And you might think, well, we're in the Final Four, we're elite. No, you're not.
On the other end of the things, Brad Marchand is the best trade deadline acquisition, I think, in the history of time.
I
Good
agree
Lord.
with you.
First round pick, it ends up being after the second gets upgraded to a first. Whereas the Leafs made that deal instead of Lawton.
Oh God.
Would have been fun.
Who I like, but still.
Well, then we would have been pairing. Can you imagine Domi and Marchand on the same line?
Oh my God.
The all fuck off
Domi
line.
would never play with Marchand. He's not defensively responsible enough.
Second on the team in scoring right now. Like, who would have predicted?
Crazy.
Man, when he arrived, he looked busted up.
Well, he was. He didn't play for
Yeah.
the first 3 weeks after he was acquired at the trade deadline.
He looked
right?
old.
Yeah, well, he was. He was
started to
injured.
look
He was
old.
literally injured.
Yeah.
He didn't play.
He started to look old.
And he worked his way back.
And this is same old Brad. Same old Brad. Unreal trade deadline, a disgusting fit.
Yep.
Like a genuinely disgusting fit.
He's perfect.
Dude, he might be more of a Panther than a Bruin.
He's not leaving, by the way. Anybody that thinks, the Leafs will want to take a run, I'm like, why would he leave? If Bennett's going, you're keeping Marchand.
The difficult thing with Marchand, and we did talk about this before, is he's never cashed in on how good he is.
Yeah, and they're saying he could make as much as $8 million, and I'm like, that is too much.
He's never made close to that.
I love him, but $8 million?
Yeah, but you're not paying for his production.
You're paying for his playoff.
You're paying for, he's still a clearly elite two-way player.
Yeah,
He's still clearly such an asshole. He is, he wasn't on Team Canada to be one of their elite guys. He was there to be a prick and also a leader.
Can you imagine next year Brad Marchand playing next to Austin Matthews?
No.
That'd be a pretty defensively responsible
Dude, it'd be
line.
incredible. It'd be an incredible line.
Okay, maybe $8 million is not so bad.
What I saw with the Leaf series, so I was doing some thinking about this. The Leaf series against Florida. Top line versus the Panthers top line. They did pretty well, Leafs. Leafs second line versus the Panthers second line. It started pretty good, and then it obviously tilted the other way. What on earth were you throwing out that was even sort of the Lundell, Marchand, Lusterinen line? Nothing. And that's what completely turned the series on its head. Maurice went, oh, wait a sec. They don't have an answer for this. Even sort of, kind of. Killed them. So, when we talk about the Leafs' need for a center, I would love to see them try to recreate that line.
It'd be great.
Something along those lines.
There's a fantastic article in The Athletic today by Michael Russo about the Brad Marchand acquisition that Florida made.
I've never heard of that name.
And Michael Russo does a fantastic job giving the behind-the-scenes details on how they actually acquired him. And Paul Maurice was initially skeptical at the idea of acquiring Brad Marchand.
Why?
So they have the quote in there. It's Bill Zito on trade deadline day. This year on March 7th, a half hour before 3 p.m., Maurice figured the Panthers were done for the day and was leaving when Zito walked out of the Panthers war room and asked, what about this guy? This guy being Marchand. That was the first time I said, oh, he's serious. If he says If he says it, it could happen. Maurice was initially nervous about the potential addition. I didn't think we had a huge hole on our team. This was an ad. It wasn't, hey, if we add this guy, it's going to fix a bunch of things. I thought we were pretty good, and then you don't know, how would that fit? I'd never met the guy, so there's always a bit of nervousness. There's as many stories about bringing in high-end guys toward the end of their career, and it doesn't work out, and it doesn't fit. But they were sure. I would say the thing that I think that our management group does the best is they identify as guys that can come and fit in the room and play our style of game and kind of flourish. Zito is bewildered that anybody could have been nervous. There's no decision that's 100%, Zito said. Even the easy decisions we make are like 49-51% one way or the other. But I would say out of all the acquisitions, that's probably the easiest because of Marshy's great body of work and knowing what you're getting.
Man.
So
we're now at the point in our lives, by the way, where Brad Marchand is the grizzled vet giving advice. I love that.
Maurice didn't see a gap on his team. So I just typed in like Panthers lineup February to see what came up. This article from the Hockey Writers came up. Here's the projected lineup for the Florida Panthers. Carter Verhaeghe, Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart. Not much difference. That's what they started with against the Leafs. Mm-hmm. And then Verhaeghe dropped down. Second line, Mackie Samoskevich, Sam Bennett, Evan Rodriguez. Again, not a huge difference. Samoskevich, I mean, basically, I forgot about him as another option for the Panthers. I'm going to skip ahead to the fourth line. AJ Greer, Thomas Nosek, Jonah Gadjevich. It's just a combination of the guys they've been using. Their third line, Justin Sourdif, Anton Lundell, Jesper Boquist. That is the big difference. Obviously, Luostarinen is missing from this lineup. I assume he was hurt.
And by the way, Boquist is now on the first line and doing great.
Yeah. And you replace Justin Sourdif, who, bless him, I think he's young, with Brad Marchand. Like, oh, we don't have a gap on our team. Sure you do. If you have the opportunity to get Brad Marchand, yes, you do. Yes, you do have a gap. Could you improve on this player? Well, I like that guy. Okay. Would you replace him with Brad Marchand? Well, is that an option? Yes! I'm Bill Zito. I'm nuts.
My laser eyes.
I think the coolest thing about the article is just how much they outline how much fun the Panthers have off the ice.
Yes.
And Brad Marchand, like, he's come in and fit right into the room, and all the guys love him. And because he's so outgoing and how much fun he is, like, he's been a catalyst for them just enjoying their time here in the playoffs. And it feels so easy for them to just play and win these games and just play good hockey. And they're just having a blast off the ice. And I think it starts from like Maurice down, and Marchand has come in and just added to that.
So when they talked to Marchand about the Dairy Queen visit, my wife, we were watching the highlights, and they showed that sort of that clip, and my wife's like, she's like, we're out of the playoffs and they're at fucking Dairy Queen.
Dude.
She's like, they're enjoying their lives at fucking Dairy Queen. She's like, I don't think our guys are going to Dairy Queen.
No.
They're not having fun like that.
You got sunned by a 37-year-old who's eating a blizzard. You suck. Go golf.
Yeah, no, the Dairy Queen thing, like, it's the perfect microcosm of what the Florida Panthers are. Like,
man.
they're just having fun.
And here we are in Shelbyville having a warm glass of turnip
They
juice.
take this thing so seriously on the ice and off the ice. It's just a good time playing hockey.
Yeah. It's brilliant. And you know what? I can see why Panthers fans, especially the ones that are joining us on the stream, that'd be Cat the Cats fan. And Jose Pantalone.
Hey, Joey Pants.
Joey Pants. You know, they're having the best time. And by the way, every time, it's so interesting. Every time the Panthers score, I get more Panthers fans watching. So you know how when Steve scored, when the Leafs are scored against, Steve's streams go up by like 1,000 people. Like, oh, what's Steve gonna say? For me, it's like the Panthers fans are like, I'm gonna wait till it's about 3-0, maybe 4-0, and then I'm coming. So then we're gonna dance.
I went through some stats for my channel and for the SDPN channel, and I learned some things. So this has been the biggest month in the history of my channel. It's been the biggest month in the history of the SDPN channel. It is for SDPN. We've had bigger months since May 2023 because we started streams, so it's a little skewed. But for me, this was the biggest month on my channel since May 2023.
Wow.
When the Leafs won a round. Winning is better for business. Oh, your numbers go up when they lose. They can't lose when they don't play. They can't win. They can't lose. They can't do shit.
You don't need to argue with people who can't do.
Yeah, well, I'm proving it with numbers.
Need to argue with people who can't do math, simple math. Now, I want to talk about the Leafs a little bit. CJ mentioned this on the show this morning. By the way, CJ's show was spectacular today. They go in a little bit of Morgan Riley talk, which I believe they got to move Morgan Riley. But one of the things that they're not going to do with this new management setup is replace Brendan Shanahan. Yes. Right away. Yes. Now, they might eventually. And CJ talks about why a president's role could be helpful for a team like the Leafs, because that's a heck of a lot on Keith Pelly's plate. And Keith Pelly, I know he's like ADHD to the max, and I know but there's only so much one human being can do.
Well, hey, you got to run, what is it, 6 teams?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Good luck.
So what's interesting, though, is now Craig Berube is in a new position where he probably has more influence on this team than most coaches in the entire NHL. And Brad Treliving, as a general manager, has more influence on this team than many general managers in the NHL do, because essentially you're reporting directly to the guy that represents ownership. That's what Keith's job is. And I wonder what you guys thought about that, because in the past, it's been a bit of a chain of like, we got to go here and then we got to go there. One of the criticisms I think Keith Pelly has of the Leafs front office is how many there's like a lot of holdovers from Dubas and Lou, and it's a little bit bloated, and they probably are going to thin it out a little. I'm curious about that. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Is that what this organization needs, do you guys think? Or do you feel like, might be setting themselves up for failure?
Well, I'm happy to give Craig Berube more power because I believe in Craig Berube. But the difference is the difficult thing is coaches get fired all the time. And now if you give him an increased role, like say, I don't know, I'm just spitballing. He's the head coach and like director of hockey ops.
No, but he's just a head coach. He's going to stay that.
Oh, okay.
They're not going to give him a title. Like I said, there's no title. He's going to have more input.
Well, if you give him a title, there's a vacuum. But since they're not going to do that, yeah, why wouldn't you want more input from a veteran head coach?
So then my question is, when you see a veteran head coach go into management, it usually goes poorly. Look at Barry Trotz. Yeah. So because coaches see things a certain way.
Yeah, but there's a safeguard there in Brad.
Okay. Jess, what do you think?
I think this is a good thing for the organization. Nick Kypreos was talking the other day on a post-game hit. It must have been one of the things around the Leafs, like when Brandon Shanahan got fired or something like that on Sportsnet Central. He was saying how the Leafs front office has over 100 people employed. And a typical front office in the NHL has 43. So, like you said, that's been a large topic of conversation over the last week or so, is them thinning things out in the front office, and Keith Pelly coming in there now that he has the resources to do what he wants with this organization, since he's been there a year, and it's like time for change. Okay, I've seen how this thing plays out. I see how they've operated for a full season. Now let's clean things up and get it streamlined. And I think this whole thing is going to be very beneficial for the Leafs in the end. Having too many cooks in the kitchen in pro sports, I find, is always troubling, because the best teams, like, they're run by a couple of guys who have really great visions on what their team should look like, and a couple of guys who have great ideas of what it takes to build championship rosters. And the Leafs getting down to the guys they know and the guys they trust, which will be Treliving and Berube and whoever they're keeping in the front office, whether it's Pridham, whether it's like the great video guys they have, like everybody in the office who they trust is going to stick around. And I feel like that's going to result in a better product on the ice.
I think there's an echo chamber there. And I say this without much insight, and I'm sure I'll hear from somebody who works for the team who goes, "You're an asshole." But I think that they need more dissenting voices in there. And I think under Dubas, you had and I was one of these disciples. You have people that really, truly believe in what he says. And a lot of it in retrospect looks like shit.
You can't build a decor.
But they sold us on revolutionizing the way hockey is played. right? And that's what a lot of these people were hired on. And I wonder if you don't move to just an office that goes, let's just find good players and not worry about the game's played the way it's played. Let's just identify good players. And I look at the way Florida's built, brick by boring brick. Like a little deal like, we'll get that Luster-Reinen kid in this Vinny Trocheck deal.
Forsling
off waivers, both from Carolina.
Dude, Mikkola, I don't even think was on last year's cup-winning team. And then when they added him, I was like, God, how did you win the cup and then become more the Panthers? I hate you.
This is and picking up Reinhart from Buffalo for a bag of pucks. And now he's a Selke nominee, right? Like
scored 60 goals.
Yeah, this is the Verhaeghe, who was a cast-off from the Leafs and the Islanders and the Lightning too. And they're able to identify these players and bring them in for like people think, I've been having conversations with people all the time and they're talking about like, well, I don't know what the Leafs can do. They've already traded their first round picks, guys. They only have Easton Cowan in the system. Ben Danford's a few years away. Like, what do they think they're going to do here? And I'm like, I don't know. I look at the way the Panthers built their team, and it wasn't big, spectacular moves until Huberdeau and Weegar for Tkachuk. And what other big, spectacular Bobrovsky signing that whopping contract? That was a huge swing.
Big, spectacular move.
That was a big swing.
Two. What else?
Like even, you know how the Lightning are always like, yeah, we drafted this guy 5th round. He's like WHL MVP. And you're like, oh, get lost. Frig you. They're always doing that. Florida, I don't know. A lot of the guys they've drafted have been like with really high picks.
Yep.
Most of them that I can think of. Oh, Sam Bennett for pucks. Did you say about that? Or did you say that one?
Reinhart.
No, but Bennett as well.
Was a first round pick though, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
Hold on, Sam Bennett trade. Let me look.
I don't think so. No, because Daryl Sutter was hell-bent on cratering his value.
That was crazy.
I still can't believe that guy couldn't play for Daryl Sutter. Daryl Sutter didn't see the value in Sam Bennett.
Sam Bennett and a 6 to Florida for Emil Heineman and a 2022 second.
So Heineman, I think, was a 2nd-round pick. So it's sort of 2 seconds. But Heineman pinged around like a couple times.
I know, but I'm just saying, Sam Bennett.
That deal sucks, dude. Like that deal sucks. That stinks. Ugh.
And that's where you need good pro scouting.
And now Bennett's with Tkachuk.
But so the Leafs, though, don't have the time. They don't have 5 years to build this the way the Panthers built this, guys. They got to do it in the next 3.
So I'm looking at their front office. First of all, the Leafs have not updated their front office page on their website. Brendan Shanahan is still the president and alternate governor. You got a GM in Brad Treliving. Special advisor to the general manager is Shane Doan. That seems exactly like the sort of position they would eliminate, but I don't know. Assistant general manager Brandon Pridham, capologist. Assistant general manager player personnel Derek Clancy. That was a Treliving hire. Assistant general manager player development Dr. Haley Wickenheiser. I don't want to lose her. Assistant general manager hockey research and development Daryl Metcalf. So I believe he runs the analytics department. Assistant general manager minor league ops and GM of the Toronto Marlies Ryan Hardy. So they have a special advisor to the GM, assistant. So it's Brad Treliving and essentially 5 assistants.
That's a lot.
It's kind of a lot. I think some people are going to be absorbing roles here. Then you got senior advisor player personnel Dave Morrison. I don't even know what that means. Director of amateur scouting, obviously. Director of hockey scouting and operations.
Dave Morrison's
obviously.
Been there forever too.
Yeah, director of team operations Bradley. Like, I don't know. I don't know enough about. Also, 100 Kipper. 100. No, there's 100 people on this. No, I don't.
What?
Find me 100. Okay, like Leafs equipment staff, those people aren't in the front office. No, player performance, that's not the front office.
I think what he's saying is that there's usually about 45, right?
Yeah, he said 43.
43.
Yeah. I think it's the extra, like, I think it's just extra bodies in there, like people who just work within that part of the organization. Like, it's not like those executive roles. I think it's the more so it's tree branches out.
Yeah, it's not the assistant general manager, it's the 6 people working underneath them.
Exactly.
Oh.
Can
so like all those assistants would have people who work for them?
Yeah.
Oh,
They have
shit.
departments. That's why they're assistant general
Yeah,
manager.
I think
Golly.
that's what he's referring to.
All right, well, now I
I
believe
think he knows what he's talking about when he says those things.
Yeah, that one I trust him.
No.
Yeah.
Do a quick Google in Nick Kyprios. What's this guy's resume?
I
What are his
didn't.
chops?
I didn't agree with his Toronto Star article, and I would say this to him about the Leafs undervaluing Mitch Marner. I think if anybody valued
wouldn't
Mitch
say it to him.
Marner,
He's big.
it was the Toronto Maple Leafs.
He's scary.
Perhaps more than the fans. Oh, Nick? Yeah, he jerseyed me once on live TV.
That's right.
And the latest stat, the Mitch Marner stuff, was it Dreger who said he's like 99%
Yeah,
gone?
he's gone. I don't know why. Like, Friedge said in 32 Thoughts this morning, he was like, "Oh, the Leafs want to get clarity on that." I'm like, "You have clarity. Don't tell me you don't have clarity." Okay, you maybe haven't had the conversation, but you guys know.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you can pull some wild sales pitch out of your ass that is not only going to pay him handsomely, but also rehabilitate the relationship between the fans and Mitch.
Guys.
It's not happening.
Guys.
And don't do this
Over.
to don't
It's
do this
over.
to yourselves. Don't do this to him.
It's over.
And he's, by the way, going to make the call. He's not going to be here.
It's over. You're getting nothing for him. It's your fault. Sit in it. Fix it.
Actually, it's not even their fault. The guy that made that choice is gone now.
Well, then it's Keith's fault.
So Brad
I
Treliving,
just got here.
I'm assuming, Jesse, Brad Treliving is going to speak this week to the media. But
Unsure.
so do you think that they can get away with the general manager not doing an end of season presser?
No.
He has to talk at some point. I'm just unsure when it is.
And you haven't heard anything?
No, we haven't been given notice that he's going to speak yet.
I feel like
Interesting.
this is that time of year where they're like, ugh,
Friday
can I
afternoon.
just wait till the draft? Can I just talk at the draft?
You can't.
At
Please.
some point,
That's a month
Treliving
from
will
now,
have a meeting of a media availability, but it probably should have happened alongside Keith Pelly, but his daughter's graduation got in the way, and now they're like, okay, so we don't really have any urgency to do this, so maybe we just delay it. And it sucks for like the reporters who like fuck off after that,
Yeah.
because like that'll be like, hey, you got a couple weeks off for those guys, and they kind of stick around until that happens.
And you got to go across the street.
Yeah, for me, no, like I'm working here anytime, so it doesn't really matter. But I feel bad for those guys.
So I got a note from a guy named Logan on Instagram. Okay. He said, "Hey Adam, I got
Logan,
a bit
have you
of
ever been to Japan?
got a bit of a funny
Sorry.
story for you. I heard you mention that Brad Treliving was in Calgary watching his daughter graduate. Well, as it turns out, I go to the same school as his daughter, and I also just graduated today with her, or rather yesterday, since I'm sending this to you after midnight. I had absolutely no idea I was going to the same school as the daughter of the general manager of my favorite hockey team, and I quite frankly feel like a dumbass. At first, when I heard them call her name during the ceremony, I thought, for a living, that sounds pretty familiar. Then after the ceremony, I saw him walking around, and then I thought to myself, that looks a lot like Brad
He's
Treliving.
like 6'5". Like, he's huge.
A few minutes later, I saw him again, and I honestly thought my mind was playing tricks on me. So I finally decided to go up and ask for a picture. And lo and behold, it was him. I couldn't believe it. And he did get a picture, which I thought was
that's
nice
cute.
of Brad to do that. Anyway, I thought you'd find that funny.
Who's taller, you or Brad?
We're about the same height.
Nah.
Yeah.
Who's friendlier?
Between what?
You and Brad.
Between me
Because you're
and
quite
Brad?
friendly, and I've heard he's quite affable as well.
Brad, like two times he's approached me and just said hello. Like he's been very nice.
He's
Yeah?
been good banter.
We haven't had banter.
No?
haven't-
You're not
haven't
flirting
had
yet?
No, he just said hello. He
You
introduced
will.
himself.
I like your chance.
I told this story on the podcast.
I'm
when he
curious-
introduced
It was a
himself.
long time ago.
I'm curious about this, Jess. Going in, do you think the questions will be about the series, or will it be about what's next?
It's going to be about like where we are at that moment. There's going to be some conversation about like how he looks back on the Florida series and like games 5 and 7, because you want to hear from his perspective on what they were missing, what happened there. Because Berube gave his answers on the structure that they lost in those games, and you want to hear from the guy who constructed the team on what he thinks happened there. So it's 100% going to be a question, but it's going to be a lot about like, okay, what's happening now.
One of the things that was floating out there earlier on in the season is like, it was like basically 5 games in, and Darren Dreger was like, here, I'm going to drop a Matthew Knies bomb, bang. And he said, yeah, they're not even going to negotiate until the end of the season. And but it's better be a bridge deal, because the kind of money that would take him for a long-term deal, the Leafs can't afford. Right. So it was sort of like,
maybe they can.
And well, so now with Marner gone, I wonder if they can. And I wondered about this. So let's just have the Matt Knies conversation. This is a player who had a breakout year. and he shows up in the playoffs. This is a player with some injury concerns. I think some. I think that's fair.
Yeah, but he hasn't missed like significant time.
No.
He's missed time.
No.
But not significant.
58 points in 78 games. I think he had 29 goals, not 30. So
he's right there.
I think he's a 30-goal scorer. Maybe one day he's a point-a-game player. I don't know. What is the comfort level on an 8-year contract for this guy?
Perfectly comfortable with him getting, I don't know, 8 times 7 would be, I think, incredible. But I think with him, I'm leaning bridge.
So you want like a 3 to a 5 year?
Yep. Or like even 4. But because, again, Marner's out of the picture. Tavares, even if you bring him back, will be old. Like by the time, for me, everything comes down to when Matthews' contract ends. Yeah, Willie is going to be a Leaf beyond that. Fine.
But you're going to need to build around, if Matthews leaves, you're still going to need people to build around. And I feel like a cost-effective Matthew Knies and a cost-effective William Nylander is not bad. That's not a bad...
I don't know about cost-effective. Fixed cost.
You don't think William Nylander's cost-effective? He's the second...
11.5.
Second leading goal scorer in the entire NHL this year?
That's what 11.5 is for. Okay, now do it again.
I would call that cost-effective.
Now do it again. You got to do that every year for 11.5. We have a skewed view of
Steve,
who should be making this money.
So what is not cost effective about 11.5 and being second in goals?
I've only seen it once. I want to see it again. No,
okay,
let's raise the standard for these guys.
After 1 year, okay, but after 1 year,
yeah.
What's not cost effective about year one?
Because it's 11.5. What a friggin' bargain! Like.
No, I'm not talking about a bargain.
You're saying cost effective.
Cost effective, which is getting your value back. Cost effective. That's the definition.
Oh, getting your value back. I would say above value, right? That's what I would say for
that's
cost
a bargain.
Effective.
No, you're looking for a bargain.
Oh, okay. Well,
and you're not going to get a bargain on William Nylander on his third contract.
So they've been getting less than cost effective out of these guys.
Agreed. Especially in the playoffs.
So cost effective is you're making your money back or you're getting your value. And then getting better than your value is a bargain.
Yes.
All right, fine. So, yeah, cost-effective for William Nylander.
I don't hate a single dollar they spent on William Nylander this year.
Fine. Listen, I'm sour. Right.
You're sour about the Leafs generally.
Yeah.
Fair.
I don't know. Where were all of you? Like, it's very rare at the end of a playoff run, you're able to look at all of them and be like, actually, all of you were bad.
Yeah.
Like, at the end, when it came down, like, the final 4 games, Tavares was bad. Nylander was bad. Matthews had the one good game and was bad. Same with Marner. I'm just grumpy about all of them. Because Nylander's locked up, if you lock up Knies long-term, now you're guaranteed at least Nylander Knies to build around.
For the next 6 or 7 years.
But I look at Matthews, who we keep saying is the best goal scorer in the world, right? One of the best players in the world. Like, do you build a Knies bridge around the idea that, hey, Matthews could leave at the end of this, and then you maximize your dollars to surround Matthews and Knies and Nylander with the most talent possible, right? That you could free up another 3-4 million.
Okay, so you're thinking that a Knies bridge deal would be $4 million over 3 years?
Well, that's what we keep seeing.
Is that, you think?
What Drew? Who did he?
Dawson Mercer.
Who did he? Yeah, and they have somewhat comparable numbers.
Different
if you
player.
were able to get, different player, but if you were able to get that done, that could be all right. Realistically, I want Knies to be a Leaf his whole career. So if you lock him up until he's 30, that's a good outcome to me.
And the cap, reminder, it's exploding. It's exploding.
I'd be okay with just about any Knies contract. I irrationally love this player. I have enough introspection to know I overvalue this player.
Right. You just don't want to overpay him.
I don't want to overpay him.
Get money out.
I hope he signs 8 years league minimum. I am not. There's a hard cap. I'm not cheering for you to make the most money. I'm not.
Jesse.
And everyone who does is weird. I think you're weird. If you want,
you're not cheering for people to make money off of billionaires. Then I think that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's weird.
Well, there's a salary cap.
I think that's weird.
Nope.
I think you got to cheer for him to make.
Why are you cheering against the Leafs? You're cheering against the Leafs.
Stop.
Billionaires, millionaires. There is no little guy here. I wish everyone would stop.
Okay. Jesse.
I despise the idea of a Matthew Knies bridge deal at this moment, because I look consistently throughout the league, and the guys who have this potential where it's like, we can see this guy as a first line player for his entire career. He already is right now in the structure of this team, and he's only getting better from here. The way you get this crazy amount of value on these guys is you lock them up long-term early.
Yeah.
You look at how Nathan McKinnon's first deal went out when he signed that long-term one. You're like, oh my God, Nathan McKinnon's still making that kind of money. Draisaitl's deal when he locked him up, and it was like, oh my gosh, Draisaitl's making that type of money. Even the Cale Makar contract right now is absolutely absurd. Just down the list, and then you go on the other side where you see guys who sign these bridge deals like Subban doing his, and the Canadians have to
get killed.
They have to eat it.
He made less than
later.
3.
Was it 2 years later
crazy.
or 1 year later?
It's 2.
2 years later, he wins the Norris, and they just got to go pay him all the money in the world. Matthew Knies is going to be that same situation. We have enough evidence here where we know Matthew Knies is going to be good. The only time in his entire career where you're going to get value on Matthew Knies is now. Because at the next deal, you're not going to get any value. He's going to be in the prime of his life, in the prime of his career. He's going to be a pending UFA. He's going to want all the money in the world, and there's not going to be any type of value there. I think for the sake of your franchise and having this guy on the team, you need to maximize the value you can. Give him the 8 years, give him the 7 years, whatever it has to be, and just lock him up now. That salary cap that's going up,
It's going to keep going up.
$8 million now isn't $8 million in 5 years.
No, we could have a cap in the 130 range in 5 years.
We're in 2025 right now. The Matthew Knies $8 million in 2032 is going to be like a mid guy in your lineup card,
like a third line
level.
guy.
It'd be like a second liner. And he's going to be playing on that first line for the next decade. You might as well give him the money now and get value back at the entire half of that contract.
Jesse, solid logic. I'm on board. I hope he's locked up long term. Adam, 8 years, $15 million. What do you say?
I'm not doing that.
Bootlicker, capitalist pig. Why are you cheering for the billionaires?
I'm looking at this like, if it's 8 times 7, 8 times 7.5, maybe I feel okay about it. I do.
Why not 9?
Well, because I don't think he's worth 9.
Why not 10?
Because he's not worth it. I'm asking him to
Bootlicker.
get paid, but I'm not a
Bootlicker. You're capital. Why are you cheering
But
for the billionaires?
I do want to
Don't get
say,
it.
I think one thing that Matthew Knies, one thing the Leafs can become this year.
I hope Steven Lorentz makes $5 million.
One thing the Leafs can become this year is likable to the majority of their fans again. And
Man.
I hate to put it this way, Down Goes Brown fucking nailed it in one of his latest
He's so good at the
podcasts.
pulse.
He was like, these guys have not been likable for years, and they come across as petulant. And you know who doesn't? Matthew Knies. Matthew Knies, to me, and I said it in the interview, that last interview, whatever, the locker cleanout interview, that guy feels like future captain to me.
I just
like this city's gonna die for this.
Yeah, I think you're making a mistake by giving them 4 years. You're asking yourself for trouble.
Yeah.
Once that next contract
and
comes
who
around,
cares what Matthews does?
like it feels like, hey, you got the opportunity to sign Mitch for 8 times 8 again.
Yeah,
and like
man.
I don't want them to get to this point where we're in contentious negotiations with all these guys, because we see how this plays out time and time again. The William Nylander deal, like, it played out in the worst possible way to get it done in that first year. We went over it last episode, how much of a waste of a season that was. But 6.9 looked like the craziest overpay at the time.
It
At
did.
the
It
time.
was crazy.
Complained about that deal for the first 2 years. He was the guy you can trade because the contract was like, oh my God, you can get rid of this contract. And
well, you couldn't trade it because it was too much.
And then now we're like, through all those years, he made 6.9.
Yeah.
Underpay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. With Matthew Knies, I think you lock him up now and you get to that point where it's like, okay, first 2 years, it's like, oh, he's making all that money. But in the last 6, it could look like a crazy deal.
I have changed my mind. You're right. Long term is the better play. what I would say, that's a good thing about.
That's why we have these discussions. That's why we have them.
I don't know. I always hate that on the clips. Like, Steve's a fucking idiot. No, I was an idiot 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, but then I was convinced.
I'm right now.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with friends. It's great because when you're wrong, then you become right. The unlikability of this team, and
It's underrated. We don't talk
Petulance.
about it enough. We don't talk about it enough. We should.
So-
and I didn't. I sometimes that's on purpose because it's like, listen, I don't want to start an October show in the first thing and go, man, these guys were fucking unlikable last year. And by the way, they're the same fucking team this year.
I had a video a few years ago. I don't remember which season it was. The Leafs lost. They had a 3-1 blown lead to Anaheim. I think it was the 10th game of the season. And I hit the roof. It's one of my most viewed videos. And it's the 10th game of the season against Anaheim. Reeves was on the team, so maybe it was 2 years ago. And people were like, dude, 10th game. And I'm like, they look the same. I'm so sick of this. They're making the same mistakes. They're going to make the same mistakes because they're so damn stubborn. I've been blessed through this podcast and with the book. I've met literally thousands of people this year, shaken thousands of hands this year. People don't fuck with this team. They don't like them. They're not like, yeah, I'd love to go get a beer with them, which I know is not the bar for how you judge a good team, is if I would get a beer with them. But
would you get a beer with the Panthers?
Fuck yes. How
about the Oilers?
Like the greatest time.
I don't think I'd get a beer with the Panthers.
No?
I don't. A beer with Matthew Tkachuk sounds like an interesting time.
I think, listen, that's a little Toronto salt and cope, and I feel you, Jesse.
No, I'm taking away my own personal biases. Like, no, right now, like, absolutely.
They feel like they'd be fun. Don't you think you'd have a good time?
No. I would call.
Jesse's not going to answer it.
If I found out the Panthers were in a bar, Steve, they invited you for a beer. I'd be like, oh, that's great. Tell them I'll be right there. And I'd call the fire department. I'd be like, there's too many people in there. So it's not up to code. I think you should go investigate. No, like, it's not just Marner, although Marner does get the most attention there. You know, the uncles still don't like Willie very much. Austin. People should like your captain. And when he's scoring a bajillion goals, yeah, it's hard not to love a player who scores 69 goals. But there's got to be something there. And this is what mystified me during the playoffs. Like, it became an issue towards the end of the Panthers series, but I was like, this guy is an animal out there. The two-way play, hits, blocks, winning battles in the corner, exactly the sort of thing where you would expect players on your team who do that sort of thing to be beloved, and he didn't get love like that at all. John.
And I think part of that's a function of the stubbornness of Brendan Shanahan and his regime to make any changes. Like, I feel like
has he spoken to a Leaf fan for the last 5 years?
He must, but
it's impossible. It's impossible he has and decided to run the team the way he did. It's impossible.
And I think he put those players in a bad spot. I think he put those players in a position. Now, listen, does some of that fall on them for not getting it done? 100%. But I think because he's supposed to be the adult in the room.
Yeah.
And by not making those moves, the necessary changes, he, in effect, doomed those poor kids, and they were kids, to fan outrage and anger when this was all they were ever capable of. And do you think for a second, like, listen, you throw a beer on the ice in there, you throw a jersey on the ice in play there, they will find you. They will have you on camera. They will ban you from the arena for life.
You probably won't make it to the concourse, but otherwise they'll find you,
And they will ban you, and you'll never see another game in person again.
Ever.
At least in that arena.
As long as you live.
And for that to happen in a Game 7, you have to understand, you might be watching this going, I don't know what the fuck these guys are talking about. I love all those guys, and I wish they'd run it back. You are in the minority. I hate to break it to you, but there are a lot of people who are not online, who don't have Instagram and Twitter, who don't go on Reddit and bitch about whatever they want to bitch about. They are just normal people, and they're going, I've had it. And that is the proof of that. And you saw in the Keith Pelly press conference, he didn't thank people for doing that, but he thanked the fans for their passion. He did acknowledge, hey, we got a special group of fans here, and they've taken a lot of shit, And it's time that we embrace that a little bit.
I don't think there's an unreasonable amount of pressure on the Leafs. I think there's a perfectly reasonable but extremely high amount of pressure on these Leafs. And did that fall out of the sky? Is it just because...
No, it built over a decade.
You won 2 rounds in 9 years. The pressure is everyone going, are they going to choke again?
Carolina, who we think are bad, has won 2 rounds in the last month.
Yeah, like no one is looking at the Panthers going, I wonder if they choke this series away. And they might. I doubt it very, very much. But they've given us no reason to think that. We go into every game 7 like, bet they fucked this up again. They did without fail every time.
How will it happen this time that it breaks my heart?
Without fail. They never won one.
Not one.
Mitch Marner came, had one of the greatest Leaf careers of all time in the regular season anyway, and left having never won a winner-take-all game.
And Jesse...
That's crazy.
Jesse, I think you're right in saying that it's sad the way that's going to end, because I was listening back to one of our clips on it, and I was like, man, what a great point. He will not very likely ever get his number retired. Mm-hmm. He will not very likely ever be on Legends Row, and if he leaves. And the reason for that is the bar was set at Eastern Conference Final or Western Conference Final in the Doug Gilmour, Wendell Clark years. They were a Western team.
That's so weird.
Those guys went to Game 7 against Gretzky and the Kings and lost, but they were a hard-fought team. And it's not because Doug Gilmour won the Selke. It's not because he had 125, 130 points in the regular season. It's because they fought like dogs, and the city identified with them, and not having their jerseys retired would be a disservice. Mats never got past Game 6, I think, of the Eastern Conference Final. I don't think they went to a Game 7.
Austin Matthews already has more individual career accomplishments than the 2 individuals you just named.
Yeah, he's got a Hart Trophy, 2 Rockets,
and no one cares.
No one cares.
He has a Hart Trophy.
Yeah, and you compare Dougie and Mats to Austin, and it's like not even those guys are surefire, put their jerseys up there, build a statue for them, and Austin's not even close.
A few years ago, like every now and then for the LFR, I would gloss over like a milestone that the guys hit, and people, oh, why didn't you mention that? I'd be like, oh, you're right, yeah, I probably should have. And then I kept glossing over them, and people stopped asking. No one. Oh man, he passed friggin' Hank McGillicuddy from the 1930s.
Max Bentley.
No one even sort of cares.
Yeah.
These stats, these milestones, these accomplishments, championships. That's what it's about.
Well, at a certain point, it needs to be, right? Or at least a sniff at one. And I think, Jesse, you made a really good point going into either Game 5 or Game 7 when we were doing our pre-streams, which I loved doing, by the way. I'm sad those are gone. The point that you made about Matthews not having a playoff moment. Doug has had a playoff moment. Wendell had a playoff moment. Matt's had several playoff moments, especially in overtime.
Their Sundin's like craziest playoff moment is a loss. They lost that game.
I think one of my favorite Matt Sundin playoff moments is the slap shot on the Sens in like Game 3. Or Game 4.
But that's I think it was Game 1.
Was it Game 1?
Early series. That is on par with Domi's, Benoit's, like their early series OT winners.
Yeah, and like Matthews, his playoff moments, Game 4 against Columbus. It's like, okay.
Man. Yeah. In front of no one. In an empty building. It was in August.
Yeah, and like all of that is mute because of how Game 5 played out, because they did it again. And he's had good Game 3s against, what was it, last year against Boston, like Game 5, 4?
He had
when before he got knocked out of the game. Like,
Game 5
of the series. Like he had a really good game. He held them in that series.
He Leafs won 2-1 Game 5 Boston 2019. And after the Leafs got shit kicked the next 2 games, CJ comes in and he's like, well, the Leafs front office really liked how tight Game 5 was and that they won it. It's okay, but you see how you allowed, I think it was 11 goals in the next 2 games, right? Are you fucking stupid? And the answer was an emphatic yes, we are that fucking stupid.
Yeah.
They did that for they ran that back. Another 6 runs or 5 runs? You're idiots. There's no more, I wouldn't have done that. No, you're idiots, and you're also assholes because you made the fans look like idiots.
Well, and then who do the fans take it out on? The players.
The players.
And so the players hate the fans.
Boo the manager's box. They would have if they could have.
Yeah. Well, and this is where I think guys like Matthews and Nylander, who, Steve, you were admittedly salty about, which, and I get it.
I'm salty towards all of them.
I think that
how could you not be?
I think that they'll get a new lease on life here. I think with Marner going, and it's not because of Mitch, but I think it's because it's the end of the core four. You know, what Ryan O'Reilly said after 2023, de-emphasizing the core four. Well, it's going to be. John Tavares is going to make between $5 and $6 million if he's back next year. Marner's going to be gone. That is over.
I think there's a real good case to also let go of John Tavares if you really want that change.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it's difficult because, like,
who else do you get?
That'll leave a hole.
Like, say that about Mitch then.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same discussion.
And it's a better argument with Mitch.
Like, it's like, okay, who are you going to get? Anybody.
It's
just as long as
just try something else.
It's not the same guys you're running back.
Try something else.
One piece. I'm like, okay, you remove Mitch, but then you got the rest of the core that's still there, and Riley's too. Like,
no, Riley's got to go. Tavares has got to be. If he's coming back, he's 3C. You have to have an answer at 2C. There are no excuses. That's what you have to do.
I'm not going to lie. I know he's got a really good cap hit. I'm not interested in Lawton being the fourth line center for what the Leafs gave up for him.
Okay.
Fuck that.
So my point is, you can be a winger then. He played a lot of wing.
He's got to be more important.
I think when you look at this whole scenario, I do think that Matthews and Nylander get a different lease on life with these fans now that this is over. Now that the core four is over. Because I think that they have, and this would be the same if Matthews was leaving and Marner was staying. If now that this is over, fans are going to have the chance to experience a training camp where you don't know what's going to happen in Game 7 from preseason, right? And that's like you were right in 2024 to light them up because what happened? They lost in Game 7.
And in 2023.
Yeah.
And 2022.
And people got on us for like, hey guys, like don't be so negative so early. And I agree with that. Or, there was like I remember there's like a Twitter account that would like subtweet us all the time. Their whole thing was like, we're going to be only positive about the Leafs. What happened? The Leafs fucking lose in Game 7, 2022. And I look at this.
Were we right? We were right for a long time.
And I look at this and I go, these guys are going to have a much different interaction with fans next year, and I'm excited for that. There's so many different stories to tell. Finally, with this Leafs team.
Can I give the Leafs some advice?
Give it to me.
What was the most popular Leaf team since Sundin left?
Probably the 16-17 Leafs.
16-17.
Connor Brown scoring that goal.
A lot of fun.
Yeah,
but a unique team that you can't replicate. Here's all these like top 10, 5 picks coming in all at once. Can't replicate it. What was number 2? I have my answer.
I don't mind this year's team. I like this year's team a lot. Lots of characters, lots of personalities.
This is close to number 2. I might put this 3. My answer is 2013.
Oh, just the coming off the lockout.
Yeah. Now that team sucked.
But they made it.
They weren't very good. They had a crazy goalie and they had a few guys who could score. I don't know what team you're going to put together this summer. Game 1 of this season in that building behind us. You go out there. People aren't going to mind what the score is. You go out there. You grab the other team by the collar and you punch until someone makes you stop. That will get you the fans in the city, I promise.
They tried that with Ryan Reeves.
They need a better guy than him.
No, fuck all that. You got an old man who couldn't play hockey anymore. He was still one of the toughest guys in the NHL. He wasn't a good hockey player. The Florida Panthers are full of animals who will beat the shit out of you and then score 2 goals. You need that. You need that. Those are the teams that win. Every year, those are the teams that win. Every friggin' year. And I'm so tired of that being the formula every year and everyone going, nah, but what if we try? Get your ass kicked. Get beat up. Get filled in. Everyone who tried to be special and unique, you got your ass kicked. There are some outliers, but it was either teams who did the punching or could take it. Colorado could take it. Tampa could take it. All the others are animals.
I think to expect that, you're asking Austin Matthews to become a different kind of person. I
No,
don't know.
Barkov's not that. Barkov's not that. He can be Barkov, right? Like you can be that type of. There's
If the
room.
Leafs sign Bennett, they can get him.
Yeah, like there's room out there for like. Obviously, it's diverse. Like I'm not like, oh fuck, here comes E2 Luosterainen. He's about to fill me in. But
Unless your
every
name's Jackson Blake, and then
maybe you will. Every line has at least one guy on it who's going to fuck your day up and play really good hockey while he does it. If you don't have that, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, and I'm saying the core of the Leafs right now and the guys they have on the roster aren't those people.
Here comes Calle Yarncroke.
We've seen it for 9 years, so if that's the expectation, like get ready to be disappointed.
So Jesse,
I'm always ready.
You say move on from Tavares because I think next year actually is probably a step back year for the Leafs. I think they're a playoff team, but I think they're probably a regular season third or wild card team. That's what I think. Third place in the division or wild card. I'm okay with that because summer 2026 looks to be a pretty good free agent class, and I'm not just talking about McDavid and Kaprizov. I'm fine with that. I also think the Leafs instantly, and we'll wrap this show up in a second here, took themselves out of the running for any opportunities that evolved during the season by consistently spending to the cap.
Yeah.
So when you had every dollar taken up plus LTIR going into training camp, there's no battles for spots. Although I have to give Treliving credit, he has battles in the training camp now, which Dubas never did. Dubas set it up like it was an EA NHL team, and that's the way it's going to be.
It's terrible.
With Treliving, you're seeing, hey, you're going to fight for this. You're going to fight for your spot. I love that.
Yes.
Then, if you go into the regular season, let's say you got $10 million in cap space.
Okay.
Whoa, you didn't spend in the cap. Now, Carolina didn't spend, but they took advantage of Colorado's opportunity when Mikko Rantanen became available. And going into the season previews, if I had told you at the Colorado season preview, Mikko Rantanen does not end this season with the Colorado Avalanche,
I would have been shocked.
You guys would have been blown away.
Yeah.
The Leafs need to open themselves up to that. You need to open yourself up to a Pierre-Luc Dubois for Darcy Kemper situation, or a Jake Chychrun on the last year of his deal, and you get him for a second-round pick, or a Sam Bennett not working out with his team, and you get him for a second-round pick.
How about a deal that's not just a buy or a sell? There's other kinds of trades.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right? Like that's like Dubois for Kemper. It's not a buy. It's not a
it's
sell.
problem for problem.
Yeah. It's crazy that it was problem for problem. One of those problems got nominated for the Vezina.
And the other problem
is Dubois has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe, overpaid.
No, he's been great. He's been great.
The Leafs
been very good. $8 million's a lot, but
the Leafs shouldn't be too quick to spend the 10.9 that Marner's making.
Yeah.
Have that cap flexibility to do something.
And so Lawton will be the third round.
10.904 because it was 10.893 and it got fixed because of COVID. He had to get his junior number.
I think it's a great
there.
point. Like having that cap flexibility is something they haven't had in a decade of Leafs hockey. So I feel like it'll be important going into this season.
And if you want to get assets back, why not play a facilitator role too? You can do that too.
Use your head.
Yep.
Get creative.
Anyway.
I promise you there are moves you can make.
Jesse? Wrapping it up. By the way, Freddie Anderson is starting for the Carolina Hurricanes tonight.
Oh, they went back. Wow.
They did. I thought Kachekov was way better, but okay.
Until he super de-duper
But
wasn't.
he got 40 good minutes. Freddie has not had 20. So.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.